Please.
9 o'clock, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bless you again. Good morning, everybody. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes of Monday, August 12, 2024 is written. I'll move.
I'll second that.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Next is miscellaneous motions. Move to authorize direct chairman to sign one tax abatement in the amount of $897.20.
It's stated down at the bottom, Mr. Chairman, a correction of the property classification was made resulting in a reduction
I
in the assessed value. So also move for this change.
I'll second. Moved by Meat, seconded by Knight. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Next is,
Did I hit something? Okay, sorry.
on the recommendation, IT director moved to approve the bid for Reliable Paper Ink for 120 cases of Discovery SNA 125/34, 8.5 by 11 copy paper, 6 cases of 11 by 17, and 6 cases of legal size paper for the total amount of $8,742.00 as the best bid, and approve the purchase to be paid from general fund courthouse general commodities line item.
Also move.
I'll second.
Moved by Thompson, seconded by McCurry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. And that concludes the miscellaneous motions. Housing Authority, Rhonda, you're up. Sure. They're moving around here. More pictures?
Yes.
I like story time.
Oh.
Yeah, I just love this.
I always like the photography.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The first one is 822 Wilson in Burlington. That one is Peace of Mind Home Solutions, which is Brad Pear. He'll be doing the work himself. They're going to just tear it down basically and have a good building site over there.
They're not gonna put a house back
Not at this time. No, not at this time. Could later, but they want to just clear
The
it out.
house from the outside don't look too bad.
Yeah, well, he says it's pretty bad, so.
Have you been inside?
No, I did not go in it. No, I felt like Brad probably kind of knows him being in the demolition business, so I didn't really.
Yeah.
What was the address?
822 Wilson.
And that, you got two of them, or is that just?
That's the second one
That's
we'll be
okay, yeah.
discussing. Yeah, I had to have two, sorry.
So they're proposing to tear this down and just use it as a building site.
It will become a building site, and then, they could do something later, but right now they've
need
got
to
some other
clean up.
stuff going on that, yeah.
Also move.
Second that.
Moved by Meat, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? My only discussion is, we get beat about lowering taxes and so on and so forth, but people gotta realize this costs money for our landfill to absorb landfill fees on their labor and everything and the equipment that's ran. I don't know, maybe this might be something to look at in the future, but maybe do a half price or a cost on and that's why I asked the question, how many truckloads is in the average house? An average 1,800 square foot house or whatever, and so that's the only suggestion I might have in the near future.
Yeah. That's,
I mean, we gotta clean up the areas, I understand.
that's what I see the real benefits though, is to, cleaning things up and making our cities look like a better place for someone to want to come build a house when we help clean up these neighborhoods. So possibly that could help us on the tax side when we get new housing, but that'd be the upside of it. But
I mean, it'd be good to have the tonnage more, because the tonnage is what we're paying, plus the space itself.
Right.
I get your side of it too, Jesse. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'd like to see the towns cleaned up and these old dilapidated houses tore down, because they are it's an eyesore, and it's a
Yeah.
chance of somebody getting in there that shouldn't be in there and getting hurt.
Right.
So, it's a safety factor. So,
Yeah.
moved by me, seconded by Thompson, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, motion passes.
My second one is at 1339 Native Road. This is the Marvin and Sarah Withers trust and everything. They do have a nice home there. They've had an old dilapidated building, or house, I should say, that was out in front that is just kind of dangerous, as you can kind of see and everything, and they are just asking to get the landfill fees waived on that also. And Payers will be doing that one also.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Thompson, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rhonda. Thanks, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Okay, River City.
Morning.
Morning.
As you all can see, moving forward, towards the end of last week, they shook out or set most of the roof deck here on this east side. Going to continue working on that this week. They're going to continue working on the second floor, that composite deck, to put us in place for a concrete pour right there around the first week of September. On that slab on the administration side, working on the exterior framing. Those start today. Start closing in this east side as well. Start putting up studs. Probably should start slapping some up today, and then looking to frame it or sheet it here towards the end of the week, if not next week. Those are our big ticket items. The interiors, they've been doing their rough end. They actually got a pipe up last week for some bathrooms. I'm trying to hold them off, let our framers get ahead of them, but they are shooting in all their hangers. You'll see them up on the roof, and they stubbed down a little blue, it's a hanger, but a sleeve for their hangers where they'll hang all their pipes and ductwork and everything else. Is their big ticket item. They got quite a few up in the area, but pretty full ceiling in there. And those are the big items going on.
Coming together rather fast.
The masons are finishing up. They should be done, I believe, today with the majority of the interior walls, also some chase walls in the booking and intake area. And they're going to work, they're in the kitchen as well on the southeast corner. And then they're going to run the block from, well, basically the whole south exterior starting this week as well. Start closing it in. The progress watching the progress will slow down a little bit.
Now, you leave one side in where you can bring the jail bonds in, right?
That'll be on this east side.
On this
They'll frame
east side.
a big opening. I think it's roughly 15 by 18, 15 by 20. They'll leave it open on this
I know
side.
that one up in Osage County at Linden, they left that open for quite a while.
Yes, we got to pour a concrete slab over in between the buildings.
Okay.
Well, before the existing building. They'll set them, stack them, and roll them in on roller
Roller
skates.
skates. That'll be interesting.
Beginning in November.
Be interesting to watch that part of it.
We also, next week, we'll have a meeting this week, but getting our pre-installation meeting for our air barrier. So let's start rolling that on the exterior of the building, get it ready to put the face on it. Start slowly changing, closing in.
That south wall's it all concrete block?
Yes. Except the corridor, the divider corridor has some EFS. Well, it's got block on it, but EFS space, and then the rest of it will be brick around on the south. Block and brick.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Very well.
Perfect.
Thank you for the
Thank
update,
you.
sir. Thanks. run a little ahead of schedule. We'll do our 9:15 Evergy Brandon Sack. You're up, sir. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Brandon Sack. I'm with Evergy, and I'm brought the CEO of Wolf Creek here, Cleve.
Yeah, hi, I'm Cleve Reeser. I'm the Chief Nuclear Officer at Evergy, and I have like 8 titles, CNO and CEO out at Wolf Creek. I collect titles.
There you go.
Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. First thing I wanted to do is say thank you, because the relationship we have with the community is extremely important to us. It's a codependent relationship the way I see it. We don't exist without each other to the degree or to the level of performance that we achieve together. Obviously, a lot of our staff are from the community, and it's vitally important for us to have a good relationship. So, appreciate the opportunity and the motivation that led to this discussion. I appreciate when people are kind of watching our backs, if you will. So, the understanding I have is that the question around, will solar coming into the area, will that represent a threat to the station and the longevity of the station? And I'll start out by saying that we are in our 39th year, looking forward to our 40th birthday next year, and actually doing some planning now for a celebration around that, appropriately so. We have our license extension out to 2045, so a total of 60 years. I'll say it's not limited to that. You just ask for it in blocks of 20. We kind of notionally have on our schedule early 2030s. We'll consider asking for an additional 20 years. And our plant is good enough to do that, and others have gone down those pathways. And I'll say that our plant is a later vintage than a lot of the nuclear plants that are out there. So my confidence level around justifying for it is higher than it would be at some other stations, just because it's a newer, more robust design. So I feel good about that. And in our Evergy long-range plans, Wolf Creek is laid out to at least 2045, again with this logic as I described. And that's all works in the assumptions of what might happen to the grid. Now, nobody's got a crystal ball, I understand that. But we know trends in the direction is the grid is moving towards more renewables, as we'd say, wind and solar, for example. That, I believe, is a reality as we move away from fossil fuels for the global warming and all the issues you're very well aware of. So the opportunity that it provides for nuclear is that we're a dispatchable source of non-carbon emitting power. That dispatchable word is vitally important in that sentence, and it's the market that I think now the value of nuclear is actually turned, and the recognition of that is getting a more appreciation in the industry. There are I sit on some kind of national level groups associated with some, particularly the nuclear stuff, and there are some projections on nuclear build out in this country that are rival or exceed what we saw in the 70s and 80s. I won't handicap whether that's going to happen or not, but if a tenth of it happens, it will be significant. Okay? Now, we're not going to be on the front edge of that, because we generally have enough power here. There are other parts of the country where it's hotter and less wind and all those things. They'll be more on the front edge of that. That's good for us because it allows them to break down those barriers and learn. There's 2 plants that were built in the last few years down in Georgia, and the second one was constructed more on time, on budget kind of thing. So they learned a lot from the first to the second, as you very well know in these projects as they go along. The proficiency in doing those will get better. So that allows us an opportunity to let others kind of plow that ground. In terms of competition, and you'll hear it from my staff because I challenge them on it, that we have to compete. Okay? Tell them, we don't want to be judged. We don't want to have a bad day when Judgment Day shows up and we have to compete in the market, right? Murphy's Law will dictate that. So your worst day better be a good day. And my team's aligned around that and performs really well. So I worry if we're not going to allow different sources to exist, that could actually be a problem for us, because we're in a good spot. We have a lot of land. We have the switch yard there. We have a good staff of folks. I'm not sure what projects lie down the road. Okay, there's no commitment around those or anything like that. I don't want to foretell something that doesn't currently exist. But I know we're sitting in a good spot to make power going forward, even after, let's say, ultimately Wolf Creek does close down. We still have those good people good land, good relationship with the community. There's a whole list of goods there that we could roll into some next version of what Wolf Creek could exist like in the future. So maybe I'll pause there and field any questions or concerns that you might have.
So what do you guys, I mean, I know it has to run at a certain percentage to make it affordable to run for the nuclear, for the nuclear side. And I don't understand the wires and the electricity on the grid and so on and so forth. That's way above my pay grade. You know, has the solar in the state of Kansas, what is out there, affected you any at all at this point in time? Or have you seen an effect from it?
Well, I wouldn't get as specific to say solar, but it is true that we have begun in the last few years reducing power in our plant down to 70% power, primarily during the spring, sometimes spring and winter. And really it's more about wind than solar, because wind is prevalent in the spring, and power demands when it's 65 degrees outside, right, that allows me air conditioning running and so forth. So because that tends to, what it really results in is what we call congestion. There's more power being generated in this region than the customers need, okay? So we've reacted to that and at times back power down. Now there's actually, I'm sure you're very well aware, a fourth line coming into our switch yard that goes down to the southeast.
Blackberry.
Yes, that's correct. That is intended to relieve some of that congestion. So that allows us to push our power farther out, if you will. So that works on the plus side of that equation. Of course, other generation will probably come on those lines over the course of time. So the impact on us reducing plant power, as best projections would help us for 3 or 4 years, then we might be in a similar situation.
Can I expand on that?
Sure.
So, and the Southwest Power Pool has a process as well. So the Southwest Power Pool says, yes, anyone that wants to can connect to our grid. All I have to do is show ownership or the rights to land, and I can go out and I can put a request in and say, I want to build generation here. I have to prove I have the land, and then I have to show them the spot I want to connect. And then they'll run a study that takes them up to 5 years. And they do these studies, and they look at that power plant, and they look at all the other requests that are out there, and you get to put these in once a year. So they run the study on the whole grid, and then they say, you know what, there's no room there to put that much energy, and you have to pay for this upgrade, and you have to pay to put that facility in. Or they may say, you know what, there's plenty of room on that line, you just need to pay for maybe a new substation at the spot, and then you can connect to the grid. So all they're looking at is reliability. They're saying, yes, there is enough room on that power line for you to connect and generate when you say you're going to generate. What they don't look at is how it will impact the market and necessarily congestion in the area. So Cleve talked about, having to respond to the congestion in the area, because all of Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, everybody's been putting new facilities in, right? All of them will have some kind of impact. When Evergy goes to put a facility in, if we come to your county and we've looked at an area, we've done a study on how it may impact Wolf Creek or any of our other facilities in the area. So we've done these studies to know that, okay, we feel like this is a good spot to put in a facility. We know how it's going to impact the facilities around it. And these are the things and the steps we're going to take to make sure that, for example, Wolf Creek is going to stay online for the time that we need it to stay online.
And to that point, I think that's what the concern is that we certainly don't want anything to jeopardize Wolf Creek, because you said 40 years, and it's been a good partner, it's been a good thing for Coffee County.
Absolutely.
And surrounding areas, not just Coffee County.
Sure.
Yeah. So again, SPP is going to protect it and say, look, there's room for Wolf Creek and there's room for another facility. But how it impacts the market, they don't necessarily look at that fully. So you have the right to ask questions like that, and you can ask for studies to show those types of impacts and things like that. We can't tell you whether it's right or wrong, the study, or things like that. But people do those things, and they can get you that analysis if you ask for it.
Right.
Well, there's been a lot of, talk, and the wind and the solar, the solar's kind of new, in my eyes, the solar's new, but there's solar throughout the United States everywhere.
Right.
Large blocks of it. I just come from the northwest, and there's solar fields out there like crazy, and it's insane how many solar fields are out there, but that's all the land's good for. Might as well grow solar. But, there's the talk of, oh, we're gonna lose our job, oh, we're gonna lose this, oh, we're gonna lose Wolf Creek, And I just wanna ensure that if something happens, we want to protect Wolf Creek, we want to protect our business partner, in the
Right.
county.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the people that work there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, we're obviously a big jobs market. I don't know how many people you saw working out there in those solar fields when you were driving by them, but I guess not very many. So, yeah, we appreciate that and I personally take ownership of the fact that we're such a big jobs spot in the county. So I'll come back and say it this way though, we compete well, and it's fundamental, to our country and competition. You have to, right? We are one of the in terms of cost comparisons. So we've compared very, very well to other nuclear plants in the country. But importantly, I'm very keen to looking, and I'm not nearly as good at this data as the nuclear stuff, but we compete well with wind in particular is what I've been able to see. Not so much, I don't know as much about the comparison to solar because there hasn't been so much to compare to. But I feel comfortable and confident that we can win out in the end. And again, the important niche is this. Somebody's got to put power on when the wind's not blowing and the sun's not shining.
Right.
Okay?
That's exactly.
So even if we ran less in the future, without us, there's not a good option I can see for decades.
Agree.
Right.
Carbon-free energy.
Right.
Be a lot of black night out or blackouts.
Yeah.
If you just solely depended on solar and wind.
Yeah, and that recognition is going up, and I think the value of that will go up. So turning back to, are we going to be in business? Gosh, we might make less power, but we might make more money for it in the future because it's like, hey, I'm standing here I'm here on that bad day, so that has value, and I need to get that value in the market.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I think even politically, we see even at the national level, they understand the need for nuclear energy as well, and we're starting to see policies go into place to protect it more. Wouldn't you agree?
There have been multiple policies and a lot of initiatives to encourage the build out and actually up power uprates. We're looking at that ourselves. It's greater than I've seen in my 35-year career. See more people in the room, and it's been the same cast of characters for decades, and now all of a sudden we have a lot of new people in the nuclear world, and Bill Gates and all these people are investing money, and all these new advanced reactor designs are out there, so there's more optimism around all that. I look at those, I might go sideways just a little bit, but I tell my staff, I look at them like like if I was in a Ferrari dealership. They're really cool, and when I walk out the door, I have no thoughts that I would buy one. But it comes back to very fundamentals for me. So a lot of that money you see going through government now is about advanced research and reactor stuff. That might show up 20 or 30 years from now, in my opinion. We know how to do it. We're doing it right here today. What it's really about is getting the construction time frames and the consistency of all that down and getting that cost piece down. And there's a lot of people working on that now. And again, the results from the plants built in Georgia were favorable in that regard. So as time goes by, my staff ask me all the time, and many people ask, when are we going to build another unit here, right? Well, I keep asking my CNL or my CEO. We haven't gotten there yet, but I'm going to keep asking. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but we want to be in that game. And it starts with having great relationships locally, having really good people at our station, and of course the needs that will be there in the future for the grid.
You mentioned you were currently operating at 70%, if I understood correctly.
Intermittently.
Okay. The windmill farm there at Waverly, has that reduced your plant 2 or 3% or 5%?
Yeah, let me be clear when I describe what it means to reduce power. we're at 100% now, and we're almost always at 100%. Occasionally, and we call in on a daily basis around midday and figure out what tomorrow's projection is. Occasionally, we will back down around midnight to 70% power. Typically for a couple of days. The most we've ever done it is 10 or 12 days, I forget the exact number. But for relatively short periods of time, and generally it's in that springtime, so February to May, let's say, in that time frame. Certainly during the summer, it would be a very rare case, if ever, that we would do it in the summer or in the winter months, December, January, where the demand is there. So relatively short amounts of time.
How much does that affect your profitability when you have the extra power out there that you're not producing? Doesn't that affect your profitability?
Yeah, it does have some effect because we have a lot of sort of fixed cost in people. Okay, so less power produced, same number of people, right?
Right.
We have been able to adjust our fuel cost down and compensate for that, so it's no additional fuel. So you might know we load 500 days of fuel in the reactor room for 500 days before we do additional refueling, and you have to think about it a couple of years in advance. So it's a long sort of curve dealing with fuel cost, but we've made those adjustments to react to that, so that cost is there. It is some effect, but saying that that's Waverly or some piece part would probably be putting too much weight on any given piece. It's more about the grid. Remember, the grid's like a giant spider web, right? So saying this piece affected that piece is true, but to have like a one-to-one comparison is probably too strong. You know, look at that.
But with the Blackberry line, once it's completed, that allows you to
That's gonna help.
shift that over excess of power. I mean, or maybe that's.
Yeah, I think it's less likely that we will be reducing to 70% when that line comes in.
Right.
Okay?
So
The
that's
other,
going to a whole- that's going to a whole other area that you haven't shipped to, is that correct? The Blackberry?
that's correct.
And it's taking you to a whole other different pool.
It goes down to, well, it's connecting to a different spot in the spider web. Okay? So it's with Pittsburgh area down there, around numbers 100 miles away. So it just allows us to get power farther out and very efficiently with the large transmission towers.
Now, I've seen those poles east of the railroad, especially the steel poles around 50 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And things are huge. The proposed or projected solar program that's talked about here in Coffee County. I can't think of what the right word. The volume that they're gonna put out, that's not the right word. How much is that gonna affect you, or is it gonna affect you?
Yeah, I think it's a wiring question.
Yeah,
Understand that a
so
little better.
that goes back into the Southwest Power Pool discussion that I had when I just spoke. There can be studies done, so it wouldn't be unheard of for you to request a study to maybe look at the regional impacts to the markets from the participant that's doing that. If Evergy was coming in, we would show you the impact that we would have on our local facilities. Or when we pick the area, we're picking the area for a reason, because we think it'll have the least impact with the best goal in mind. You can do the same types of things even if it's not an Evergy thing. But if Evergy's not here representing it, and they're telling you it's Evergy, then it's probably not, or it's not yet. Doesn't mean it won't ever be, just means it's not yet. But if we're here, we've done studies like that to look at the impacts. There are groups that can do that, again, even if we're not a part of it, there are people that can do those studies, and you can look at it, at how it may impact the markets in the area. And there's no reason you couldn't ask for that.
If somebody else is doing that study, are you aware of that study going on? And do you get a copy of that study?
We don't. No.
But you guys are part of the Southeast Power Pool, are you not?
The Southwest Power Pool, we are part of it, yeah.
So, I mean, if they were doing a study, they would,
No, they don't have to use Southwest Power Pool.
they don't have to use Southwest Power Pool.
Okay. So to go back to when you do have to drop down possibly to 70%, that's workable for your plant when it does that. Apparently it is, because you
It is.
do it. But
It is, and there's a reason why it's 70 is because we don't have to turn off any large pumps to get to 70%, and just general prudency of not stopping large
Yeah,
equipment,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like a diesel engine, right?
Right.
Right, leave
Yes, sir.
it idle is better than restart. So it's kind of in that vein of thinking. But there's been some interesting positive things. Again, I think the grid generally is going this direction, so we're maybe on the front side. There's not that many plans to do this. We're kind of on the front side of learning what it's like and thinking about, just having done it, you learn things. But it also ends up being good for our staff because they actually get some additional training and experience that goes with that.
I see.
Right? There's possibilities in the future where we could modify our plant to make it easier. So let's say a variable drive pump versus having to start and stop one, we could just change speeds maybe or something like that. None of those are really on the table at this point. I think we're 5 or 10 years off from kind of thinking about those. What we're actually thinking about, interestingly enough, right now, again, is power upgrades. It can actually produce more power. And I think it's very probable that that's going to work out. It's been done many times in the plant. We have a lot of experience in our leadership at the station. So it's sort of this contradiction of sorts, right? You're having to make less power, but you're actually wanting the ability to make more. It's because on that day when things are really good, I want to maximize the good day because it offsets the day where I'm going to reduce power.
Very encouraging.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So is Evergy looking at any big solar projects in the state of Kansas?
So our resource plan has us building 2,500 megawatts over the next 10 years of solar. Also adding 2,500 megawatts of natural gas in the next 10 years, and also adding another 1,000 megawatts of wind. And that's for our entire footprint. Now, we're actively looking for spots and locations to do the first couple years worth of builds, and we'll continue each year looking at the next year's projections. So yeah, yes we are.
Is Coffee County a county you'd be looking at, Brandon?
So to Cleve's point, we own a lot of land around Wolf Creek. We own a lot of land in the area, and we also have locations outside of Coffee County as well. We are trying to keep it doesn't even have to be in our territory. We've bought power plants outside of our territory, and we buy them in our territory. One of probably the most important things we look at is the impact to our current facilities. So we will look for areas that have the least amount of impact, but also the most impact to your bill. And when I say that, I mean, how can we keep the bill steady or even make them lower with the facilities that we look to build? So that's what our resource plan says. Hey, you need these types of technologies. And then our job is to say, hey, this is the best spot and the best area for us to put these facilities in to have the least amount of impact. So that's what we look for. Now, when we talk about specific technologies, we've done a lot of research on solar. We've done a lot of research on wind. And we've done a lot of research on natural gas. So when people come in and talk about, the impacts of that specific technology to the land and the region, we've done those as well. And we're starting to develop best practices, and how to work with the communities and the counties to have the least amount of impact there as well.
What about coal? Are you in the, as far as coal generating?
We are in the business of generating with coal as well. So the way I really look at it is, our friend Shane here came up with an awesome pie graph that shows diversification of our resources. If you looked at the past, we had a sliver for nuclear, and then everything else was fossil fuel. We're not there anymore. Now we've diversified. It's good to have wind in your portfolio. It's good to have nuclear. It's good to have coal. It's good to have natural gas. It's good to have solar. We've looked at all of these, and we're trying to make that a more equitable pie now over the next 10 and 20 years. We don't want to eliminate pieces if we don't have to. We want to keep that pie as diversified as possible.
Jeffries Energy Center's been a dinosaur on the prairie up there in the hills for years. And
Since 1980, right?
Long time. And
Yeah.
I like going into that plant. I've been into that plant many times.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
I've seen a good article here recently that, how well that plant performs and the benefits of that plant. And I enjoy going up there. So
Yeah, the diversity showed its importance during the winter storm Uri about 2 years ago. Just remember that.
Right.
If you have all your eggs in one basket, and you're asking for trouble, right? So the gas line might be curtailed. The coal, we had trouble pulverizing coal. It's so cold. These different things, but because of the diverse approach, the team was able to react and move around and really helped out in addressing that storm.
I'm gonna come back to that 70%, and maybe it's not fair. That 70% still works for you, profitability,
Mm-hmm.
but at 70, does it have to have a higher unit cost going out to equal what the 100%? And maybe you can't stay at a 100% level at all times.
Right.
But to me, it still works. You're gonna have to mark that unit up higher in order to have the same net value, same net profit as what 100% would do.
Yeah, you're right, because our costs are pretty much fixed, okay? So, yeah, so less units out the door, the dollar per unit changes, and the profitability, is negatively affected by that, would be accurate to say. But you're talking about a really, flip it around, I could get off and could easily get into something I don't understand very well, the whole finances, how pure utility finances. But the other side of that is at times you're actually there's negative pricing. So if you're producing, you're actually losing more money. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because your price goes down.
Yeah, you're actually.
And that's where Blackberry comes in.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's for Blackberry.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's as simple as answer as I can give.
But also, if you can turn the wick up on the days that they're calling for more power, to be able to go 110%, or whatever it may be,
Yeah. Yeah.
then your profitability can go up.
That's
To
right.
offset the 70%.
That's right. And we're probably in the 2 to 3%, just kind of power up.
Very good.
Yeah.
To be clear, Coffee County is important, but anyone could go to the county next door and do the same thing, right? Or the county just down the line and do the same thing. So it's not just anything in Coffee County that could impact it. It's anything in the surrounding area. It's things in important. Some of the Wolf Creek to Blackberry is actually going to allow some of the wind in western Kansas to flow as well. It's going to just open up congestions overall in the Spiderwood.
Right.
And the Southwest Power Pool is here to help with that, with other projects throughout the region and territory as well. Not just this one, but there's other projects going on that will help open up the pipeline as well. So they're really working towards that. It's just you'll find periods of ebb and flow, right? We've got to wait 3 years to get that line built. We have to wait 5 years to get that line built. But once the line gets built, it will open up the flow for a time. So people are looking at it. It is a big machine, and people want it to work well. They don't want to pick a technology to fail. They want them all to succeed so we can serve our customers. Reliability ultimately is what all of us are looking for.
Agreed.
Very good.
Any other questions for the gentleman?
Well, it's been very informative.
It has
Thank you
been.
so much.
Thank you so much for coming in.
I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here and simple words. Appreciate you watching our back and having our interest in mind. And again, the relationship we have with the community is extremely valuable to us. So anytime there are questions, I'll be happy to come over and give anything I can.
Well, for a long time, that was kind of the rumors that it's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. All those huge transformers going down the road headed your way kind of tells me you're not ready for the flood.
That's right.
We hear that way too much.
Yeah.
Something will happen, but fully appreciate
Yeah.
what the plant means to Coffee County, and
Huge to our citizens.
Yeah.
And I'm
We've got
sure-
things
we're sure it's
that are
gonna stay.
unreal here because of it.
Well, we're happy to be here. And again, that community support means a lot to us.
Yes,
It
sir.
makes a huge difference. So
You got it.
we're appreciative of that.
Got it.
Brandon, appreciate you putting this together.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Brandon, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
man.
Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Go back to work.
Take care.
9:40. Rick Trullo, you're up, sir.
just got a couple quick questions. So in your last meeting, you spoke about solar and talked about the flow path, what's going on with the zoning regulations, and then it moves on to the commissioners. When Wade, when you spoke, it wasn't very clear. People heard the governor and legislature. Would you want to re-speak about how that actually is? Because it was hard to hear in the audio.
Which part?
You stated that, what I understand, you were comparing the zoning board to legislature.
Correct.
Then they're going to pass it, do public hearings, whatever. Then they send it on to commissioners.
Correct.
They're like the governors, correct? They will make a decision whether we allow it or whatever, or send it back to the zoning board.
Correct.
That's what you meant, right?
Right.
Okay, because it wasn't very clear. People asked me, what's the governor got to do with this?
The board sits in a seat similar to legislation going to the governor for final approval. So either the governor can veto that legislation or sign it. That's the role of these guys.
So you're referring to them as the governor, correct?
They sit in that same type of
Okay. Okay, that's what everybody was asking
So
about.
just a comparison.
It was just a comparison,
It's
yeah.
a comparison.
Just want to clear that up, because
Right.
So you're referencing where someone said.
you said, it was in a meeting before, I don't know what the last one before that.
The word project was used, and there's no officially sanctioned project by the county.
So there's no solar project currently?
Fine.
Right.
Right, that's what his statement meant.
Okay.
Not that can move forward without something happening, because
Okay.
there's a prohibition or a moratorium.
And I think I was the one that used the word project, and that's when, at the end, and that's when Wade stepped in and said,
To clarify
to
that.
clarify that, that's how it came about.
And this moratorium that you're speaking of, when does it end?
September 5th.
September 5th.
What's going to happen at September 5th if the zoning board's not done? We're going to extend it, because that was brought up at one of the zoning board meetings.
Guess that's a board decision, isn't it?
Keegan brought up that we would do whatever we need to do to get it right.
That's his statement.
Yeah.
So if we need to extend it, we'll extend it. If they ask for it.
I think it was up, it could be up to 1 year. I don't remember what the actual verbiage in the moratorium was, but it could be, I think it was for up to a year.
September 5th is that.
It is the year.
Is the year, if I remember right, isn't that correct?
Yeah, it's in your notes down there when that resolution ended.
Yeah, Angie, look that up for the.
Well, hopefully we've
First
got the
week of
raise, is
September.
what we're all hoping for.
So they start to have a public hearing, correct? After they get done?
After they get done with the regulations,
Yes.
They gotta present it to us.
they'll present it to us, and then I think there'll be a
There's no public hearing required?
I think there is a public hearing to adopt the regulations, isn't there, Wade?
I think the recommendation is that a public hearing occurs in Heidi's shaking her head up and down, and there's a public hearing required, so.
So you're running up on a deadline here, right?
If the timeline doesn't work, then there will have to be a consideration regarding the moratorium and whether to make things work, whether it needs to be extended or not.
Heidi, do you have something?
Just to add, the planning board makes the recommendation based on what they have in front of them, and then the final decision is made by the commission. So it will come in front of the commission when they're finished with the regulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, that was my main question, and also just want to thank you guys for the fiber projects going on in our neighborhood. I know your brothers, like me, it's tough to get fiber.
Right. I think it's a good thing too.
Glad you guys approved it, appreciate it. Thank you for the sympathy card, by the way.
That's a change, appreciate it, Rick.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to do that since I come into office to get fiber to the Jacobs Creek area, regardless of who lives there.
Yeah, I went back and watched the video, and you talked about expanding the Jacobs Creek area.
Yes.
And plenty of places to build houses and make it better out there, there's no doubt about it.
Yes, it's needed it for a long time, and it needs people out there.
Do you have any more questions?
No, that's it. I know you guys got a full day, so I'm not gonna bother you. You got any questions, holler at me.
All right,
Thank you. Road and Bridge. Bridge, Adam, you're up, sir. We're gonna keep trying to stay ahead here, so we have a little breathing room at 10
I
o'clock.
won't take long.
You're good.
I just got a couple motions. First one will be CP2 on a new hire.
For Joshua Buckner.
Yes.
Motion to review and approve CP2 payroll notice for Joshua Buckner, heavy equipment operator, highway, new hire, wage classification 35-01 with a wage of $20.28, effective 8/19/24.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion?
The only thing, there's no mention in there that, the number of employees are gonna stay stable.
Yes, this is just to fill a
Yeah.
vacant spot that we've had for close to a couple of years now, I think.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next one I got is, been a pickup.
Is this just for
This
trailer use?
This will be for the bridge crew, which I've done some truck shuffling around from crew to crew. I've moved a truck off of the bridge crew to the asphalt crew, and this is to replace a truck for the bridge crew.
Okay.
So, full equipment trailer.
Motion to approve road and bridge superintendent request to solicit formal bids for one-ton truck, funds to be paid from general fund, public works, equipment line item.
I so move.
I'll second.
Moved by Thompson, seconded by Meeks. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
All righty, thank you. You guys have anything for me?
I think so, sir.
All right, well, everything's going along. We're still plugging along with our
I was somewhere,
normal projects.
County Line Road, north, east of Lebo. We just rebuilt.
Yeah, that 2-mile stretch.
There's culverts that have sunk, or the
The
compaction
Okay.
has sunk on those. I went down that Friday night, and there's a significant.
Probably after that rain last
Been a
week.
lot of rain up
Yeah.
there, fortunately.
I'll
So
get
just-
up there, I'll
just
get
FYI.
Dustin up there to take a look at it.
Okay.
I seen you guys spread some bigger rock in probably a soft spot there towards the east side, around the tower area maybe. Can't remember where it was dark,
Yeah.
but something.
Okay.
I just hope the culverts aren't smashing. I'm sure it's
Nah,
compaction.
it's,
Sinking in.
There's been a lot of truck traffic
going
on
from
there.
dry to wet to, yeah. it's-
There's even more truck traffic now that 50 highways tore up because everybody's going out of worry.
Yeah,
That's going that direction, they can take the gravel road.
yep. I will put it on my list to go look at.
Okay.
All righty, thank you guys.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Adam. Looky there. 10-minute break. You can't do anything until the canvasser primary. Take a break, we'll come back at 10:58, be 10-minute break.
9:58.
9:58, sorry.
Yeah. Get us in no trouble with it. Regulations.
Saturday.
There would be.
All right, we're back. Waiting on 10 a.m. for canvass of the election.
And I let everybody know what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
So that they aren't
Wondering why we're sitting here
Yeah.
in silence for a couple
well, or
minutes.
that we're going into a canvas and coming out,
Oh, okay.
because I know they're here for the information.
Right. Beautiful rain this fall, hasn't it? You can't raise crops this year. Well, you gotta live in the right area.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I was telling Don earlier. All them years, he got all those rains down there, and we was high and dry up in the northern parts of the county. It's turned, it's
Boy,
turned.
things change.
It's changed.
Hopefully these bees can
It's unfortunate,
recover.
not everybody can have the rain, so.
So you try to get this done within a minute.
Yeah, basically, we're just gonna go in as, board of canvassers, and then we're gonna second and move in second, and then we'll,
Move on. to
recess. We'll recess as board of canvassers. Hopefully all in that 10 o'clock. I hope I don't get tongue-tied.
I'm gonna ask for help from me.
Be like Yosemite Sam up there. All right, it's 10 o'clock. Move to convey as Board of Canvassers to canvass the results of August 6, 2024 primary election at 10 a.m.
I'll move.
Moved by Thompson, seconded by McCurry. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion moved to recess as Board of Canvassers at 10 a.m. to reconvene as Board of County Commissioners for public hearing for minimum maintenance roads. A second. Moved by Meats, seconded by Knight. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Look at that. We're way too efficient.
Okay, so it's still 10
Oh, okay. 10 a.m. Ryan Durs, moved to enter into public hearing at 10 a.m. for proposed declaring certain portions of roadways in the northeast quadrant as minimum maintenance roads. I'll move. I'll second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Aye passes.
Good morning.
We made it.
We made it. When did we do the resolution?
Well, it'll be,
After Ryan's?
yeah.
Okay.
One more here.
So this is basically what, I went over with you guys prior to meeting with zoning on this. So if I need to go through these again, we can, or just whatever you need me to do, or get them out.
No, I think we missed that.
Yeah, we went through those, what, 2 weeks ago? Last 2 weeks ago, Monday? No, what's the last one? This year?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same.
Yes.
All right, so just to reiterate here, this will be the third round of the minimum maintenance roads that we've been going through. And, you know, we realized several years ago just the lack of consistency and some signage in the county and some liability for the county that kind of goes along with some of these lower maintained roads. And so we're just kind of going through and kind of rectifying that. It's kind of been several counties across the state have done this in the past. You know, that's where we're at. So there's a process that goes through by state statute. One thing I would like to say is just, you know, to keep in mind, our county maintenance is not changing on any of these roads. You know, it's not our intentions for any of that to be changing on any of this. It's simply just to limit our liabilities and get consistent signage across the county. And so that's basically why we're here today. 14 roads or segments of roads that we're looking at on this round. Actually, there's 15, apologize. If you guys have any questions, I can go through road by road or what if I need to, or.
Looked at them.
Well, Well, I mean, this is the same as we did in the southwest part, northwest part,
Yep.
and now we're in the northeast part
Correct.
of the county, just going around. The sole purpose of this is to limit the liability of the county for signage to be unified throughout the county. No maintenance is gonna change, they're gonna keep doing what they're doing, regardless
Yes, that's the intentions, yes.
of anything else. To eliminate the liability for the county and signage.
Accurate, yes. So that's what I've got here. I think next would be the zoning report, go along with this.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you for your report, Ron. I call on zoning administrator Heidi Harris for presentation to the planning board, recommendation and answers, questions of the commissioners.
The planning board, in the packet, you guys have, they went through that report I had in there, and they made those following factors and findings for the meeting, for those 14 different roads. Majority of them were there was not any development on those particular roads, and then a lot of them, for zoning purposes, don't have any developments occurring on those roads as of right now, pending either. So there is one that is in Waverly's jurisdiction for zoning, so they would just have to be contacted if there was anything going to go on. So is there any other questions for me in regards to that?
That was the only thing that was different, was the one that was in Waverly's 3-mile jurisdiction
Yes.
that come up during the zoning meeting about the roads, and so that's the city's, kind of the city's deal, and it would have to be worked.
They have to work with the county and say, hey, this development's going to go on, just to let you know, and then work it out with the county to figure out how the maintenance would be handled if they were to put a house or a business or whatever.
But that's within that 3 mile?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's within that 3 miles of Waverly's jurisdiction, yes.
Any other questions for our zoning administrator, Heidi? I don't have any.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Are there any communications to consider from the clerk's office?
Let me just check and make sure we don't have anything else to do. No, there's nothing else that's coming.
Let the record show, no communications to consider from the clerk's office. Public comment, does anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? If so, please come forward and provide your name and address for the record.
I'm Greg Schilling, 2319 16th Road, Westphalia.
Morning.
Good morning. The one that really specifically affects me is number 14. And I guess I'll start off by saying, picture doesn't do it justice when that is my one and only access to that property. I mean, it is the only access. This is not a convenience to get around to the backside or get down the side of it or whatever. It is the only access to that property.
So your property's at the end of this
Yep.
down here then, Greg, is what you're saying?
We're down there on the left with 160 acres. Another man that couldn't be here this morning, who has communicated with Ryan, has 240 acres. So there's 400 acres down at the end of that dead-end road that is absolutely, unequivocally the only access to that property. I take objection to the way the description, and it even mentions a 17th road. There is no, hasn't been a 17th road for probably 100 or more years. That further describes how there there is no other access to this property. I'm not here to complain about the condition of the road now, but I may have read through this too quickly, but in these whereases, I don't see anything that says anything about maintenance in the future. I mean, you guys can tell me that, Ryan can tell me that, but the fact is, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years from now, everybody, we're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
The land's still there. That's my concern. And once it's been attached, that stigma of being down at the end of a minimum maintenance road, that's hard to undo.
Is that currently a gravel road down there, Greg?
Yeah, grass has grown up to it. It literally was totally rebuilt back in the early 80s when we really had a lot of money and did everything.
Right.
No joke, it was graded back in the day when we had more maintainers and we knew what to do with. It literally was graded every week, whether the maintainer tracks were being graded out from the last time.
Yeah.
But anyhow, it was made into a good road in the early 80s. I'm not complaining about the condition of it now, but I really don't want the stigma of being down at the end of a minimum maintenance road.
But that's what it is right now, right, Greg? I mean.
Well, yeah, but like I say, nowhere in here in these whereases does it say anything about what we're doing about maintenance. You guys can tell me with best intent that it's not going to degrade. But I'm saying 10, 20 years from now, we're not here.
Right.
Road and bridge people aren't here, but the land still is. Now, as far as the liability concerns, explain to me what, like the road I'm specifically talking about, number 14, what's the liability problem on it? There's not a single cross tube in that half mile. There's not a single tree. I mean, I'm not understanding why the county is so liable on anything on that road.
Ron, would you like to?
Sure, yeah, I'd say on this specific road, there may not be as many liabilities as some others due to no trees and no culverts. You know, I suppose the potential's there for it to wash out. You know, really it's the level of consistency on these roads. They're all segments of roads, so that's our idea is whether it's a full mile, whether it's just a segment. I mean, it's similar as other roads in the county that we're looking at signing, whether there's one culvert on it, no culverts, 20 culverts. I mean, our intentions are the same there.
I'm going to say look at them on an individual basis.
What about signage at the end of the road to declare, you know, it doesn't go on through?
It's got a dead end or no outlet. I don't remember which it is.
I mean, I don't know about the signage, so somebody doesn't hit the end of that.
It's got a faded out orange triangle or orange
Well, that's,
thing.
you know, that's the thing is we're updating the signage at the endpoints on these. Usually there's triple diamonds. If there's gates there, we have to do something a little different, but there's some signage that goes at the end, termination points on these roads.
There's a diamond or whatever there is on the hedge corner post right at the end of it.
Yeah.
And as far as washing out, we are on the continental divide between the Neosha River Basin and the Merzine.
On the top of the hill.
Yeah. Well, it's a half a mile west of there, but just to put it in perspective, again, there's no cross tube. We're not talking about any sloughs. We're not talking about anything. That's where I'm saying we've listed all these individually. Let's look at them on an individual basis if it's absolutely unequivocally the only way to access a piece of property.
I'm assuming which side, you're at the very end?
We're at the very end. We also operate on the left too, for that matter, but I'm not going to argue my position on the left side of the road as you're going down there, because I call that, you know, just an access to get down the side of the property. My concern is is property down at the end of,
At the end of the
yeah,
day.
yeah,
So who farms that here?
on the
I'm
right.
gonna say that's the east side.
Yeah.
The east side is us,
That's you?
yeah.
Okay.
We farm on the east side,
And then-
we own down at the end on the left side,
On catty corner to it then.
yeah. Well, okay, you're headed south. We operate the farm on the left. If you get down to the end of the dead end, then we own on the
On
left.
the left.
Oh, okay.
And
So
Mr.
right-
And Mr.
Right
Burdick,
south of it.
Mr. Burdick from Wetmore, from Nemaha County, he owns 240 on the right, down at the end.
Okay.
And he is adamantly opposed to this, and you could ask Ryan regarding that, because he has communicated with Ryan.
That's right, yeah, we've talked 3 or 4 times this weekend, I asked him questions he had, so, he had intentions of being down here after things come up, he wasn't able to make it, but he's against this.
But,
And I've been on that road, Greg, and you're right, I mean, I mean, as far as a minimum maintenance road, it's a good minimum maintenance road. I guess the way I looked at it was just signage, that's all I was looking at.
but Steve, it goes back to 5 years, 10 years, we're all gone.
Sure.
It's still the land.
Well, hopefully not. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know, but
No. And I know what you're saying.
whereas it doesn't say in here what is gonna be the maintenance procedure in the future is what bugs me. We covered a lot of things in the whereases, that whereas hardly anybody uses it and all that, but there isn't a whereas that says what the maintenance is gonna be. It's all good intention here.
And that's what it is, it's just good intentions. And when you and I spoke, I mean, I looked at it as just strictly signage.
Yeah, well,
As far as the liability part of it, you know, every road we got in the county has got a huge amount of liability, and you get into a dead-end road, there could very easily be someone drive down that road, because it is a pretty good road, you know, at 50 miles an hour, and not know there's a dead end at the end, and
can they not read the sign that's right there as soon as you turn and get squared up on the road?
Can't count that they read that sign. 'Cause
So-
they're looking at their phone.
that they're totally unaware.
They just turned the corner to head down it.
Yeah, I realize that. That's like my road out west, south there. It's a dead end road and no outlet and go across the low water bridge.
Who's to say then we don't have to have it in the other national language too, and put it in Spanish too?
Right.
Don't get,
Yeah.
please don't go there.
I just had the bungie the other day, everything's in both languages, and it's like, I can't believe this.
Yeah, fully understand, Greg.
Well, and, I understand your concern in the, hate to say, the Sue Happy world that we're in. We're just trying to, you know, introduce whatever amount of prevention that we can. I'm no attorney, but I could ask Mr. Bowie, you can't deny anybody access to their property, and that's an open road. So whether it's minimum maintenance or not, it would still be an open road. And, if it is on the top of the hill, you know, and there's not tubes in it, I would think you'd have a somewhat usable road for years and years to come. You know, if they ever did anything to it again, but, you know.
It's gonna be a piece of property from now to the end of times.
Right.
So,
I
we
agree with that.
can't stand here and say that.
Yeah. Well, we can't, but legally, you've got access to your property unless that law changes, and that's out of all of our control too.
I think when I was talking to Mr. Bowie last week, I pointed out, well, if we're gonna be that extreme about our liability, do we have to have a pilot car running behind a motor grader to tell a low-slung car not to cross a gravel pile that you might poke a hole in an engine pan? We can't do that.
And Obviously, some of these roads are not the quality that this one is. A lot of them are not.
Look at them
Where-
on an
where they
individual
do-
basis.
Where they do present liability.
This is not a road of convenience, this is a road of necessity.
Right.
If you have no more questions, well.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thanks, Rick.
I'm Leonard Davison. Address is 819 West 4th, Garnett, Kansas. Property that we're talking about adjoins the property that Greg was talking about. We're speaking of number 15 here specifically. If you look at the map, you will see that that is 4 sections. The only access to even close to the center of that 4 sections is these 2 stub roads. My father purchased this property, section 32, several years ago, and at that time we accessed it through the fields that Mr. Shelley now owns. At that time he did not own it, nor did he farm it, but at one point in time we was served with legal notice to not cross that property to get to that pasture. At that time, 15 was opened up so that it would be passable, that we could get into that property. We appreciate the work that the road and bridge has done. As Greg mentioned, 17th Road, at one time we needed to build a new fence, and they came out and dug up the stones that marked where the line was and established where the fence line should be, and I was amazed that they would go to that effort for us. 15 is the only access to our property. We're talking about liability. When you've got, if we're talking one person goes down the road once a week or once a month, that one person is still important. If you have, as we have livestock, as Mr. Schelling was talking, the other man, some 200 acres, as livestock, you have to go in and take care of it. Dealing with livestock, there's always a chance of injury, always a chance of needing emergency services. I think it is morally responsible that the county maintain that 800-foot of road that emergency services could get to the property. I think there's a liability there that we're not looking at. Always a chance of injury. Need of emergency services. Pursuant to Kansas law, yes, you cannot deny a person access to the property. But neither is it proper for the county to expect the property owner to maintain and service their own access for the public use. Sample versus Jefferson County. County wished to remove a bridge and figured that the property owner could find another way in. The court found in favor of the property owner to keep a road open for him, not at his own expense. We highly object to changing a full-service road to a minimum maintenance for 800 feet to get into a landlocked property for any purpose. It would decrease the value of the property. It will create a hardship in the future for sales, etc. Any questions for me?
Is this, Leonard, the up left side picture, I don't know what you've got, does the county grade this road?
Very seldom has I seen a grader on it. Now, there is 2 gravel paths that is getting beat down enough that if I was to drive my car down it, I'd get over on the edge.
I understand.
So
Understand you
it's-
get high centered on
You
it.
get high centered, oh, yes, and to get to that property, that is the only access. That is the only access.
And your property's up here at the north end.
In the corner of 32. And,
Yeah, but it's up here in the north, at the north end of this yellow line on the picture here on the map.
well, I'd have to look at that, I mean,
You're up at the north.
you're up the way, I think so, yes,
Okay.
yes.
I would look upon our attorney to see if we could put something in the resolution that would state the county will keep a maintainable travel road on these resolutions to ensure to the landowners that there is and will be access to their properties from said day forward of the resolution passing. Would that be, am I going the right way, Ryan, on that? I mean, or Wade?
I'd have to look into that. I've got the statute in front of me right now, and I can put it up on the screen if you want to see it too.
It was just one that I pulled up, there's several, I mean,
Sure,
there's
this
several.
is the statute that deals with minimum maintenance roads specifically, 68, 5102. And it says at the beginning, when the Board of County Commissioners of any county is of the opinion that any road within the county or on the county line is used only occasionally or is used only by a few individuals, the board may commence proceedings to declare the road a minimum maintenance road. Roads which have been constructed with federal aid shall not be minimum maintenance roads. And then it goes on and talks about adopting a resolution, going through the planning commission, having the hearing, which is being held today, not later than 10 days after any road is declared to be a minimum maintenance road. Sign shall be posted thereon by the Board of County Commissioners stating, quote, minimum maintenance, travel at your own risk. Such sign shall display black letters on a yellow background with the letters being at least 2 inches high, which explains why it's not in another language, because the statute doesn't require that yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still minimum maintenance, it just takes it out of full maintenance. In my opinion, would be that it still requires some level of maintenance, just not the same level of maintenance as other roads that aren't declared minimum maintenance. I don't know if adding a sentence or a whereas, as was suggested earlier, changes the fact that it's still a minimum maintenance road, which requires, so maybe Ryan can answer what's the difference between the maintenance on a minimum maintenance road versus a non-minimum
It's
maintenance.
maintained as needed. I mean, it kind of depends on the traffic volumes on roads, and the amount of maintenance that the road is going to take. So if you have a road that you're having one person going down a week, or if you have a road that you have 100 vehicles a day, the level of maintenance is totally different.
So let's say one of these gentlemen have an issue with their road and it hasn't been maintained in a period of time. If that's something you'd entertain and say, hey, we'll come out
We
and
go out and look at it and see what level of maintenance we need. Like he's talking about the ruts. You know, a lot of these roads don't ever get maintained. They were good gravel roads. The grass has grown up. At some point in time, they get rutted enough that we have to go in and blade them. And, you know, there's times we have, you know, if there's water hole or something like that, we need to go in and address some drainage issues, or get some base put back in there to make them, you know, a little more passable. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's just the level of maintenance just based on what the road needs, is what we do.
I guess I maybe don't understand, maybe it's not the maintenance of the road, it's the stigma
It's a
of a
stigma.
dead-end road is what this gentleman's issue is, I believe.
Dead-end road, minimum maintenance is a stigma that I don't want to have on a piece of property that's going to be there till the end of time.
No matter what we put in this, regardless, it's the stigma of a minimum maintenance road.
If we're gonna look at 15 different roads here, and other people aren't here to express their objections, I guess I'm just asking the two roads that are being represented here, that maybe we could take exception to what we do on these two roads, because we're here voicing our opinion on these two half-mile roads. And as Leonard pointed out, I look at this as a 4-section block of land that all it has is a good perimeter around 4 sections. 16th on the south, 18th on the north, Underwood on the west, Wayside on the east. And all the county is out is 2 half-mile roads for a 4-section block of land.
I appreciate you coming in and voicing your opinion and your concerns. I really understand what you're getting at. It's the stigma of having the dead end piece of property.
Yeah.
And the concern of it not being maintained in the future with whoever's sitting in the seats. They might change it.
There isn't a whereas in here that says what's gonna happen.
But that still wouldn't change your mind, even if we put in here that the county will maintain this road. But that's not what you're,
That really won't change my opinion.
I just wanted to make sure.
I want these two roads, if nobody else was here to represent their interests, I want these two roads eliminated from the list.
I would second that.
Talk about.
Okay.
Just
wait till you guys get done.
All right.
But it's not gonna change the fact that it's still a minimum maintenance road, correct? I mean, it's not gonna go into full maintenance.
No, I just don't want to see a minimum maintenance sign put on that road.
But I guess my point, Greg, what I'm getting at is it's not going to change how the county takes care of those roads.
Doesn't say that. I'm afraid we covered several things in the whereases, and mainly that nobody uses this road. It doesn't, that's the concerning part to me.
So when we started talking about this earlier, the question was to you, Wade, is there any way to add that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
But I don't think that's an issue.
Well,
The
I
issue-
think that would help the issue.
Well, I
Am
don't know that you
correct?
would still go for it, but
Am I correct?
if there's something in here stating that we will maintain the road up to par as it is now, would you be satisfied with that and still have a minimum maintenance sign on the road?
I guess, if I knew it was gonna be maintained just like any other road,
That's in the minimum maintenance
Yeah.
category.
but I don't know how we're gonna navigate the legality of that, because I didn't really get the drift from what Wade was saying, that he was really coming up with an answer to that.
And I think you're declaring a road a minimum maintenance road, but you want it to be maintained like it's not a minimum maintenance road, and those are two different worlds. And
I'm just trying to get where the gentleman is and where we can get to as a compromise is what I'm hoping for, is a compromise.
Eliminate these two roads,
If it was adequate.
or 3, yeah, and Steve's got one, he wants eliminated also.
For adequate field access, or adequate access for the landowners.
What number is yours, Steve?
Number 3.
Oh, right next to whatever.
Yeah, it's right out west of where it is.
I would agree with Mr. Shelling. I think 14 and 15 should be stricken from this minimum maintenance resolution. Even though you plan to take care of it. As Mr. Shelling said, it is a stigma for the property. it decreases the value of the property because you don't know whether you can get to it or not. And on top of that is what I mentioned in regards to emergency services. You may look at that as a humorous situation. You've got 160 acres after you get to the end of the property, but still you're at the property. There's a liability there also. Any other questions?
There's 4 property owners at the end of these 2 roads, right?
Absolutely.
2 of them are here, correct?
Yes.
You were here once, and one definitely made his point
Yeah.
with me this weekend that he's not in favor of this.
So, what about closing the road and turning it over to the landowner? Gate the road goes back, the easement goes back to the center of the road, and then it's yours.
Well, I don't wanna go down that.
You don't wanna go down that fast?
That would be a nasty road.
I don't want any part of that.
But, I'm sorry.
I'd like to point out again that whoever did all the research on all this, I really resent even referring to 17th Road in here, because, I mean, it doesn't exist, it hasn't existed for over 100 years.
Well, what that's doing is describing to us, it's 17.5. That means it's a half a mile north of the 1700 boundary line. There's no road there.
Call it a half a mile south of 17th, or it's half a mile south of 18th.
It's whatever, but it's written here, so
I mean,
we know where it's at.
Yeah.
But I get your point.
Yeah.
That's for us to locate it, so we know where it's at from half a mile into that up to 18th.
But I'll stress again, it's a 4-section block of land that the county's only out 2 half-mile roads.
I would state that when my father bought that property that we own, he drove over it with a 1956 Buick. Now, I'm not sure you can get a 4-wheeler across a part of it. So properties change. And it's pertinent that we have access to at least one corner of the property.
Ryan, has this been, a lot of these roads we looked at 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, have these roads all been minimum maintenance for some time, and now we're just getting the signage, eliminating our liability?
Yes.
So these roads, we've talked about these roads every year,
The
or
maintenance
every
is the same on these roads
every
since
3 years.
I've been down here anyway.
Sorry, gentlemen, I got a funeral I gotta go to.
Yeah, like I say, Don, I'm not here to complain about the condition of the road at present. I'm just looking down the road 20 years, whatever, what this could lead to.
But they have been minimum maintenance for probably 20 years. 'Cause I know the road out there on my place has probably been minimum maintenance for 50 years. Just hasn't got the correct signage, where I think it has now. But we just need to find some type of resolution and find a solution that'll work for all of us.
You won't find that.
I contend that if you can't read no outlet or dead end, you can't read minimum maintenance either.
Steve,
Come on up, Steve.
you got something there.
I'm concerned, my name's Steve Lytle, 1941 25th Road. My concern is number 3, Shetland Lane. I'm opposed to making that a minimum maintenance road. Planning Commission lady in here a while ago said something about this is in the 3-mile territorial limits of Waverly. We have asked and received a permit from Waverly to put an Airbnb there within this yellow line that you have. We are attempting, well, I'm not going to tell you I'm gonna attempt it. I'm going to build a Airbnb or a tiny home right there, and it's out of an airplane. So anyway, that road is scenic. We have a creek down at the bottom of the yellow line there, and you have that listed as will flood and this type of thing. I don't like to mow and weed eat around the sign, but I understand it, so I do that. But to close it up or make it a minimum maintenance road, if you went past the creek, there's been, well, there again, we're not talking about the maintenance that's been happening on the roads, but there's been very, very little maintenance, mowing or anything. I don't think there's much gravel there left. But if your minimum maintenance went on the other side of the creek, which would be the south side of the creek, that would be the place to put it. You can see in your two pictures here, the picture taken 2/16/2022, I guess that's when they were both taken. The one on the left of the page shows that mowed pretty well. Well, it's not now. The other one is by Gary White's property, and mine starts right on the other side of Gary White's. I own all of that on the east side, west side of Shetland Lane, down to the creek. And,
But that's still a minimum maintenance road right now, correct?
well, they don't,
I mean, they don't grade it on a regular basis.
it hasn't been graded, I don't believe, this summer.
Well,
This year.
I guess that's my point, is that it's still considered a minimum maintenance road without signage. Is that?
That's correct. I mean, yes.
I didn't know it was considered a minimum maintenance without signage, but, you know.
No,
Yeah, they have not graded it, mowed it, or anything. We maintain our side of it. The other side is Terry Winsky's, the 5 acres in there.
But that's the way it's been done for several years.
It's been done
Right.
that way for several years, and it's just,
It's basically a minimum maintenance road without signage,
yes.
or correct signage, I guess I should say.
Well, it's, okay.
I'm
More maintenance is needed. I mean, Steve will call when they get some potholes, needs to add some
Right.
rock in there. We'll go up there with a skid loader and rock and fill in as needed. You know, I'd say that's every 18 months maybe that we need to go
Yeah.
up there and.
We
And
don't,
I didn't mean to, I'm not quite, I mean, I know what you're saying, and I agree, at the end of the bridge going south, there's, I mean, the only people, I think Ryan still goes down there.
Ryan goes down there to
farm on,
farm on the east
east
side of
the
it.
road, and then I don't know if they still travel to the south to, come
No.
into that
They,
same place.
I haven't seen him through there for several years. But, and we plan on building a house, my wife and I plan on building a house down where the little white star is, in the future. I don't know that it'll happen for sure. Didn't know I was gonna have a heart attack a few months ago either. So anyway, that's our plans, to build a house down there on that road. And right now, we are building an Airbnb or a tiny home on the, right where your yellow line starts. I would think if you just look at the road, that the minimum maintenance signage, if you think you need that, should be on the other side of the creek.
But it's not gonna change the status of that road, whether there's signs there or not, correct?
Well,
I mean, it's.
I would go along with what Mr. Sheldon has said, that I think you're gonna devalue the property if you put that sign right up there in the tree line, right there where the tree line stops on the east side of the road, and I don't have any trees on my side of the road. We took them out, so. I think that's all I got.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you're better from the heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
Stay healthy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve, this house that you're proposing, it's down there where that little white building is.
There used to be a house right there.
There used to be a house there.
That was Jerry. Yeah. There used to be a house right here.
But it's no longer.
No, it's no longer there.
I think is there still a building there?
There's still a building there. We have a white shed there that's, really a nice shed. It's got a lot of stuff in it. It's very valuable.
Very expensive shed's what you're saying, right? Thank you for your comments, guys. Any other public comment? This time we'll close public comment. Where am I at?
If I may, Jesse.
Yeah.
So I think, so where we're at, we've had some discussion on a few of these roads. I'd say there's at least one that there's some pending zoning that's taking place up there at Waverly. So, I mean, that's information that we didn't have at the time this was put together.
Yeah, I didn't know it till.
Yeah, so I mean, these roads that we have, one thing is they're not a house access, they're not an active, bus route or mail route. So, I mean, I'm presuming if somebody's building up in there, some of that's gonna change. So maybe, that description may need to change on that segment of road some. I think probably, and Heidi would know more on this than me, but if there's any proposed changes to what we were talking about here, I think that kicks back into zoning, I believe.
Other regular zoning actions, when you go to change the resolution, you do have to send it back to your planning board to reconsider what you're changing. So that would be another question for Wade in this case, if that still holds true to this minimum maintenance. I know on the zoning side you have to, but I'm not sure about the minimum maintenance side, if it has to kick back.
Probably wouldn't hurt the part of the statute that kicks in planning and zoning is in subsection B. It says, when a determination is to be made that one or more roads or parts of roads may be declared minimum maintenance roads, the board shall adopt a resolution describing such roads and shall transmit copies thereof to the planning commission of the county for its recommendation. So the recommendation includes all the roads that are within that commencement action, and if something different is going to occur, I guess we haven't faced this hurdle just yet.
I guess I failed to see where planning and zoning came into this, other than, Steve's situation where he's within Waverly's planning and zoning, but, I didn't know planning and zoning had anything to do, nor have they driven and seen the locations and paid any attention to the only access to the property.
I mean, that's the presentation that I gave them. I mean, that's what they've had, and that's, by the statute there, it states that I have to go through them before it comes up here. So, it's just following statute, that's how they, planning and zoning got involved.
I guess my final comment will be then, we must have thought this was just gonna be a done deal when we apparently were already locating the spot and had a utility locate where to put the signpost before we even had the hearing.
No, that's correct. That's because we only have 10 days to get the signage up. So we have all that done on the front side. So like today, if the resolution was done, we have 10 days to erect all those signs. Locates can take up to 3 or 4 days or more, so we go and we have locates done and have that work done beforehand.
I would suggest that we, I had 4 trucks headed into Oklahoma with corn on it. They're sitting down there waiting for a train to move. So they're learning patience. Perhaps we need to learn patience here and send this back to be re-scoped and drop these 3 partial roads that we're talking about from the minimum maintenance resolution and go ahead with the rest of it. That's what you want to do.
If we revise your table, Quaid, well, I guess we return to planning board.
It's probably out of your options, the option to go with right now, to reconsider 3, 14, and 15. I don't think there was an issue, there's nobody here to
Not today.
comment on the others, but then I'll need to do probably a deeper legal analysis on the history regarding minimum maintenance roads. There's some case law, some law journal review articles that have minimum maintenance roads in its analysis as well. Then I'd be in a better position to answer more specific questions that I know these gentlemen have now.
You know, we got two types of roads. I don't wanna muddy the water any, but is there any way there's a third type that is in the middle for these type of projects to be good for us and good for our citizens? I know of course, I haven't looked into it, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could get 12 different levels of road if you really wanted to look down at it. I mean, everywhere from asphalt down to roads that don't get traveled, so.
But again, I guess I'll say, we're only talking about a half a mile and 800 feet on Leonard's Road. I mean, let's leave them alone.
Well, the board's been deliberating, so I'm gonna make a motion to replan. I move to return the proposal recommendations to the planning board for recommendation at its next regular meeting with a statement on the basis of the governing body's concerns.
I've just got, Greg, with the way it's being done now, you're good with that as far as the way the road's being maintained.
The level of
I don't,
The level of maintenance.
yeah, I don't have a problem with the road right now.
Right, so what you're concerned, you're just concerned about the signage itself, that's what concerns
Both of us.
both of us.
I mean, it's just it's legal.
Yep.
It's a legal issue for them.
Well, I'm not sure how, I mean, but it's the signage itself that you're,
I'm worried that 20 years from now, we're worse than a stepchild.
If you eliminate the road, how do you put a dead end at the end of the road? Can't.
well, I think the dead end is already, I mean, I'm not sure if that's the issue. It's the signage itself that designates it as a minimum maintenance road.
But the signage and the legality of being recorded here that it's a minimum maintenance road is not a stigma that we want.
It just sticks to the property. It devalues.
And you and I talked, when we talked on the phone, it's 22nd and Zurich, I said Urine when I, but.
That's my idea of a minimum maintenance road.
And that is a horrible road. I mean, it's almost, in bad weather, it's impassable. And I was just bringing that up because that is a tough road. Whereas the road that you're talking about, and I agree, it's a nice road, but what I was getting at was that the signage is what you're.
The signage and the ultimate action that will be hard to ever undo and overcome.
Because if we don't do the signage, it's still going to, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, it's still not going to change the fact that it's still just minimally maintenance.
Yeah.
We got a property in Lyon County that is similar to this, but it is got a minimum maintenance road past it, but there's other access to it. We can go 2 miles around to get to it. And there are times we go there, we do not go down that main road. We just know not, you're gonna be stuck if you go down that road. So you go around. These you have no other option.
That's a pretty good road.
But, yeah.
And it's, we're not complaining about the condition of the road or the fact that it's not maintained every week. It's just the legality of the stigma of that this property is almost landlocked.
It's absolutely the only, unequivocally the only way for ourselves, Leonard and Mr. Birdie, to access our properties.
Heard you loud and clear.
Yep.
Motion on the table to return to the planning board. I've moved. Been moved and seconded, moved by Knight, seconded by McCreary to return to the planning board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Or any other discussion?
Well, did we get the numbers into that motion, like 314?
314,
But I
314 and 15.
I guess I'll have to ask, so now what's gonna happen when it goes back to the planning board?
We're gonna have time to,
May I suggest that
Go
for
for
you?
it.
So what happens is we'll go back to the planning board with the concerns that you guys had today, plus the issues that they brought up in the statement. They'll go back and reevaluate it. So that planning board meeting for anybody that'd like to attend is the 21st of this month, so that's Wednesday.
that's this one.
So if you come, there'll be an opportunity to speak as well when they're making their deliberations on the new information that was presented from the vacancy.
Thank you, Adam.
And that's Wednesday, this Wednesday?
This
night?
Yes,
Wednesday
Wednesday
at
the 21st,
7
it
o'clock.
starts at 7. We do have something else on the agenda first, but we would get to the minimum maintenance as soon as we were done with that topic.
And so they'll be looking at number 3, 14, and 15, is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir. Those are the ones they're gonna look at revising.
You said Bertie, is he the one that has the cattle on columns? I mean, he's got
He's got the kitchen section, he's got
got
the water
kitchen,
columns, he's got cattle down there, south,
right. He's from,
Wetmore.
Wetlands, yeah.
Okay, we got this.
We didn't make a decision, so.
She get there.
At this time, we'll close the public hearing for resolution 2024-937. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Dave.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, take care.
Thank you.
Steve, take care. Thank you. Yeah, you too.
You got your truck.
Oh,
thank you.
Steve moved.
Sorry.
Steve moved, I seconded. You do.
This address is wrong. How do I get that changed? It was your
Vote.
place.
All in favor, say aye of the closing of the public hearing. Aye.
I guess we haven't got to that end.
We made it work. We wasn't gonna win that battle.
So do you wanna do a chamber real quick?
Let's do a chamber.
No, I will. If I don't do that,
Holly, you're up. Sorry we're running late. I knew it was gonna take a while, but, come on up, chamber. Or Holly, whoever.
Matt's going up there.
Matt,
I guess I've been voluntold.
voluntold.
Yeah, I didn't talk to you, I talked to Holly. No, I'm kidding.
We just wanted to come to give you guys an update on the director position. So we did conduct interviews of 3 applicants last week and extended an offer on Friday, in which was accepted. I believe Holly brought some of the material from the applicants that we selected. We've gotten the EIN taken care of. We haven't filed the articles of incorporation. That's the last thing that we need in order to then set up our bank account, which was another question that I had. Since we have somebody set to start the first Tuesday of September, since Monday is Labor Day, once we get that bank account set up, do we need to come back here for funding? So then she can set up with the accountant to set up payroll and any disbursements that she may need. I didn't know the proper channel of I know the funding was approved. We had talked about doing special purchase or special checks or whatever.
I was gone while all that was transpiring, so I'm in the dark.
there was,
Oh, I can't remember.
if I remember, 75,000 was sort of put to the side so the chamber could go out, seek applicants for a director. That would be the amount that would be in play until the end of the year, right?
Correct.
And then depending on how that played out, that would then in turn tie into what happens next with the chamber. The chamber, while you were gone, there was a conversation about the chamber coming on board through the county or staying a separate entity. I think staying a separate entity is what the consensus was among the commissioners, but they need money to fund it. Historically, it's been a part-time position. They wanted a full-time position. I think they need the funding and then a location of where they're going to operate. They already had bylaws and a policy and procedure. Apparently, they didn't have.
And we've been working on revising them to the new structure as well.
What is the cost of joining the Chamber of Commerce?
That is something that we will be revising. There used to be a set amount, I believe it was $125 or $150 a year, but we had talked about putting it on a tiered structure to where, home-based businesses could be part of the chamber, have your name on the website so for a lower amount, but if you wanted to be more prevalent in advertising or seen as a larger sponsor, there'd be
more money,
higher tier, which our applicant, I guess our director as of Friday, has worked with tiered structures similar to that in her previous position with the Greater Topeka Partnership, which is a chamber, just without the name.
Just to fill you in a little bit, that issue was brought, I had an issue with that because I think the way it was set up was that everybody was a member.
We had discussed having everybody as a member.
Without any cost at all. And personally, I think if you're going to be a member of the chamber, you have to have some money in the game somewhere. And that was my position, just to catch you up.
Well, and everybody's frowning and browbeating and talking harsh about raising taxes and so on and so forth, and now we've got another entity that's coming to us. Not to say anything bad. I'm 100% for the chamber, but we've got everybody else on the backside throwing rocks and spears at us for raising the mill levy a little bit, but yet we've got another place that possibly needs funding. So I'm just throwing that out there. I would like to see it sustain itself.
Yeah, and I think that's the goal. We've had discussions of it taking a year or two of needing funding from the county just to get feet underneath us and set a structure and have a director in place. But I think the ultimate goal would be to be self-sustained.
And that's what I understood, from the get-go.
Yeah.
But that's why it was brought up about the dues or whatever you may call. I think that's important. And I think the number of businesses, I can't remember what you had said. The question was asked, and I think it was answered. I just can't remember how many businesses were involved.
So I'll go off the cuff. So I think the last that I had seen, there was 165 registered businesses within the county, and we had somewhere around 110 to 120 that were members of the chamber. So somewhere around 65% of the overall businesses within the county were registered with
But
the
if you
chamber.
go and start raising the prices of the membership, you might lose some, you might gain some.
And that's the hope with the tiered structure, is we're not excluding any business based on a financial barrier, but we are giving the possibility to some of the larger businesses to be more involved. We're also hoping with a full-time director, who it's truly their 9 to 5, we can generate ways of bringing additional value to the chamber members as well.
This lady that we hired, she is currently doing this in Topeka. And she's got, I'm passing around her resume. She's got, she's been trained to do this. She's been to classes, and she's sat in on seminars, and I think we found somebody that, I mean, that's good.
You know,
Does she live in the county?
She
she,
lives here, and she drives to Topeka every day.
Say that again.
She lives
Oh,
here
okay.
in the county
And
and
drives.
drives to Topeka.
That'd be a huge plus for her and us.
right. Yeah, and she, you know, a big part of her interview process was just the connections that she already has kind of in the chamber world. And since we're kind of starting from the ground up, we thought it might be beneficial, somebody, one, who's done it or is currently doing it, and two, to have access to those different chambers that might be able to assist, you know, get different points of view, what works, what doesn't, steal other people's great ideas and claim them as our own.
What'd she think of the businesses to pay a small fee to join?
So she,
Is she in favor of that, or is she
before
in
we,
favor of the major differences?
before we even brought up any idea of like where, or our thought process was, she had indicated, kind of that tiered structure. Now again, we've somewhat tasked her with taking some time to get to know the individual businesses within the county, because obviously the numbers that work for businesses in Topeka are probably not going to work within the businesses of Coffee County. So to get an idea, you know, what level of support, what level of, I guess, advertising, what our county businesses are hoping to see from a chamber, and then build that due structure around that. So, and I might be speaking out of turn, but I was really hoping she would be able to take a pretty solid portion of the remainder of the year to just gather more of an understanding, at least a couple of months, and then go back for January 1 with here's the due structure, and kind of address that with all the businesses within the county.
It's gonna take her time to get acclimated to this part of life.
Yeah.
Other than Topeka.
So, before she worked for the Greater Topeka Partnership, she did work for Goodyear as a sales agent.
Oh, yeah.
So she's familiar with some of the area businesses, and she's had a tie to the county for a couple of years, so she's familiar with the area. She had mentioned, I actually believe it was Waverly, that she had the least amount of familiarity because she didn't have previous clients or anybody, where she had somebody in Gridley, Leroy, Lebo. Actually, she specifically mentioned night trucking as one of her previous.
Right, don't go there. So the board is still going to be intact as far as representation from each
Yes.
city, is that correct?
As we are here today, it is the same 6 members that we've had since we've kind of started this reorganization process.
Are they on a rotational value? Rotation?
That's part that so yes, they will be per your guys' recommendations.
But this is a new deal, right?
Right.
Right.
We have not put that in the bylaws or policies officially as to who rotates off when or how often. Obviously, my thought would be we have 6 members, you have 2 rotate off each year on a 3-year term, and I think that's probably where we will land. But we've been, I won't say solely focused, but focused on getting the director in place and everything we needed in order to get the structure together, so then we can revise policies, procedures.
Imagine coming from whenever, I mean, I would think that you'd want continuity, for the first year or 2 or 3, just.
So I think all of us have said that we would be at least a year.
Yeah.
And it's just the determination on if we do a 3-year term, do we go ahead and rotate 2 off January 1 of 25 to start that 3-year rotation. Of course, members could reapply, or 25, 26, sorry.
26.
I jumped.
No. I was gonna say you're not giving yourself enough time.
I saw your wheels turning and then mine turned. So, and of course, at that point, if I was rotating off, if I wanted to put in for another 3-year term and
Sure.
be approved, so on and so forth. But if I chose a better candidate within the chamber board, maybe they could get. Remember, I said they had to be approved. That was the caveat there.
No, like I say, I'm glad to see it start back up again, or get it, start crawling before you can walk, because I think if it's ran correctly, it can be a good thing for the county and the businesses in the county. You know, once upon a time, we was one of the largest non-governmental employers in Coffee County. And I say non-governmental. You got your schools, you got your county, you got that's free, so on and so forth. But, you know, since then, that's changed. But,
One more thing, we were going to ask you guys about, we talked about an vehicle.
Yeah, I can't remember how.
So it was presented that you may have had a couple that were not currently in use that could send through the service shop, make sure that they're still roadworthy, and then maybe use that again for a time period.
we believe we have a vehicle from the health department that is available that we didn't use as a trade-in, I believe.
That's right, I think it's still available.
It's a Ford Edge, I think, or something to that effect. Angie, you probably know more about that than I do. And they didn't trade it off, did they?
Well, I don't recall,
No,
but
I don't think they did.
okay.
If I remember right, Wade does, rather than trading it, keep it, and then if we needed to sell it or whatever later on. I think that's, I can't even think how many miles one thing has on it.
I think there was a trade offer, but the trade offer was lower than what I think Wade or somebody thought the value was.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to gifting it to the chamber, but y'all carry your own insurance and everything else on that. Which
I would say we know somebody or a couple of people. We might be able to get it figured out.
There's a few of them for you now.
Yeah. If you have a recommendation, let me know. And then I guess to go back, if we have by the end of the week everything set up with a bank account, how do we go about having that bank account funded, or how, I guess, so she can start, her own payroll, her own purchasing. I just don't know how we go about. Do we need to come back and
We've set
have that
money
approved?
aside, is that right, Angie? They've set the money aside out of the general?
I think we went 75.
That is correct.
Right, but I just wanna make sure it was set aside out of the budget side.
It was out of the general
I think
fund.
we took it out of the general.
For the general community improvement, is that what we did?
I think it was.
I believe there should be a motion.
Mm-hmm.
That was,
A month and a half ago, somewhere.
Give or take.
so, I couldn't hold.
I've slept once or twice since then.
Yeah, I think you were ill.
Yes, I was.
You were. I mean, as long as it's been earmarked on our budget side, I don't see a problem with issuing a check
I don't know.
for that, as long as it's been earmarked on our budget side.
Okay.
Because we've beat that thing down about as well as we can get.
So do we come back to a meeting, or do I come and bug somebody?
Well,
I just want to make sure, I don't want to take up too much of your time, I just want to know.
I think Angie's looking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Okay.
So you're still finalizing all the paperwork on your end, though?
Correct. So we were issued the EIN, we just have to submit the articles of incorporation, then everything on that side is done. And then in order to open the bank account, we have to elect officers and who has signature authorization.
And we're meeting next week, so we'll have that done.
Well, and if we had to, I'm sure we could all get together and get that done in very short order, I would hope.
You have double signatures on your checks.
So we don't have a bank account yet.
Yeah,
So,
but I'm saying,
I had not thought to do double signatures, just limiting who has signature authority. And I believe our previous discussions would be director, president, and treasurer would have signature authority. And I'm sure we'll have something in our bylaws, policies, or procedures to where any expenditure over a certain amount requires full board approval, and I know that's in the previous policy, but.
I would maybe make to have two signatures. I think that's just good housekeeping.
Yeah, no, I don't,
Not saying anybody's gonna do anything, but Angie, if you look at the 15th,
I don't,
For what?
the 15th.
I don't think that's a bad idea either.
I had
Oh,
July
maybe you've done.
8th, but I don't have anything there. I'm still looking here.
But you're gonna be issuing brand new checks, and to me, you ought to have two lines on it, for two signatures.
Yeah, I don't,
I'm pretty strong on stuff like that.
I'm not, from your background, maybe a little bit from your background. Like I said, I don't know that I disagree, I just hadn't,
I agree.
we're trying to do everything on the front end and thinking about stuff
Little
on.
things slip by. that
Yeah,
you-
absolutely.
You'll think when it's too late, we should have done that.
It was at the very end of the day, on whatever day it was. So it'd be probably the last thing before adjournment, or one of the last things.
Let me go look at July 15th.
Let me, I may,
Nope, not July 15th.
I sure don't remember what day
Let me
it
look.
was.
Let me get searching differently. Sorry about that.
I just can't remember whether a motion was made or not. There was a general consensus.
Or may not,
There was a motion.
may not be a motion.
July 8th was the date
Yeah, and
that I had for the meeting that we had.
there was no motion.
I know I was told there was a general consensus by one of the commissioners. I do remember that.
Okay, here it is. I'm sorry.
Nope.
75,000 for the calendar year 2024 to the Chamber to reestablish the Chamber of Commerce, advertise for the position of a full-time director, and restructure the agency for the county funds to come from the general fund community improvement contractual line item.
Is there a motion then?
Yep, Huguenin moved, Thompson second.
Okay.
So we can do a special issue for
Okay.
75,000. Do you need it like today or is next week okay?
Next week's fine. We'll want to make sure that that bank account's set up.
Okay.
So, do I just,
I'll make a voucher and attach this motion to it.
okay,
And we'll
perfect.
just have it ready, so if you want to pick it up, we can hold it, or we can mail it, whichever.
Sounds good. We'll come and pick it up.
Okay.
We're just, Holly's just across the street. I might be able to.
And you're not very far away.
Not very far. She might call and tell me I'm doing that too.
So you're saying she's in charge?
No.
I didn't.
You didn't?
She fought you before I would. But that's all we had. We just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on where we were and.
We'll do the research on the vehicle.
Okay.
See what we gotta do, because I know, I don't know how we have to go legally.
Probably be a disposal order of some
Disposal.
sort, and so
Right
require
for $1.
notice.
Type thing.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything? Perfect.
You got a turkey shoot coming up? I seen a sign somewhere.
You coming?
I might.
Hey, before you guys leave town today, would you go down and get your picture taken in front of the turkey?
Ooh.
I'm a big enough turkey.
See? Mine is if I go there, they might shoot at the wrong one.
Which turkey did we shoot at?
Yeah.
Have you seen the turkey, the big hay bale?
On the used lot for Cromati right there by. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
I
your
saw that
picture
the
and
other
then
day.
tag people
Oh.
to come to the turkey.
Trying to get as many people there as we can.
Okay.
And distinguished individuals as yourselves could surely draw the attention of the community.
Thank you guys for your time,
Thank
and we'll swing back.
Tail
We'll have it
feathers blown
next
off
Monday.
the other day. or-
Yeah, I think, Mr. Skipper went and put those back up, did you not?
Tail feathers all off.
They were all off to the side.
Lost the tail feathers. I've had some turtle doves like that.
I think so.
Thank you. What a minute. Wow.
Okay, Mr. Skipper, you're up, sir.
What canvas, is there any chance we can get our provision, we've had a board sitting in here since 10 o'clock.
Sorry.
Waiting for our provisional ballots.
Okay.
Can we call that to order? We need to get Gwen and Tom added on.
So do we need to reconvene as Board of Canvassers? Did recess, right?
Yeah.
Was it commenced?
It was.
Oh, you did commence.
We
Okay.
commenced, we recessed.
Okay.
We
Well,
had
that's
to do
good.
the
Okay,
here,
that's
we had to
good.
do.
I was worried about that part. I didn't realize that. Okay. I really would like to get, we just have 5 provisionals that are gonna count.
Okay.
A motion
We'll
and-
have to,
Motion to reconvene as Board of Canvassers.
yeah. There's no way we're gonna get through all this in order to get to Bobby real quick, so we'll have to get the provisionals and then maybe like recess again and then go back into it again while we run reports, so.
So, I'll make a motion to reconvene as Board of Canvassers, is that right?
Yeah, you wanna wait till Gwen's here?
Oh, sorry. Strike that motion. All hush.
Gwen is headed this way.
Tom, did you wanna go ahead
There
and?
too, Tom, if you wanna come over to Tom's here.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Hey, Tom and I are filling in.
Yeah. Be Wade if you want, or whatever
Okay.
you want to be.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
great.
good, yeah, that's
Yeah, you too.
Okay, we're gonna go in
How are
here
you?
in a second. Good, how about you? Show the provisionals and then we'll have to recess for the board of
Statute
commissioners
says in-
again.
You know what
You know what you're getting into?
Oh, I think I've done this before.
You've done it
I-
once.
Yeah, I've
Voters
done
of the
it,
county.
okay, so, yeah, definitely trust,
Everything
folks'
going
office with that.
So we're doing the reconvening.
Yeah.
We're doing the industry days, and then
Yeah, well, good. Okay.
Try to get out of your way.
Hey, sir.
Starting already,
I mean, just smash that.
crazy, isn't it?
That timer? No, it's not my favorite. Okay, now,
Go ahead now.
smash it too.
While she's handing that out, you gonna go ahead and do this?
I'll make a motion to reconvene as canvassers, Board of Canvassers, at 11:21. Moved by Knight, seconded by Meeks. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, motion passes.
Okay, so what I've handed you is the provisional ballots of what we've come up with, reasons
Did they-
for
did they
provisional
appoint-
ballots.
Tom and Gwen,
Oh, need to appoint Tom.
we need a motion.
Well, we
to-
already moved to go into, okay. Go ahead and, yeah, I guess. go ahead.
Motion to appoint Tom Johnson and Gwen, sorry, last name, as canvassers of the board. Is that right?
Yeah, in the
Probably
absence,
should have
in
done
the
it before
absence
we
of
went into-
commissioners,
And,
the statute says commissioners over the canvas, but in the absence of one or more commissioners, you can appoint a voter of the county. They are both voters of the county, I can attest to that.
I'll move. Do we move in second on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll move. I'll second.
but we should have done that before we went into the board of canvassing, but that's okay, okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay, so I put the provisional ballots for reasons for the provisional ballots. We had a name change due to marriage, there were 3 of those. Number 2, a voter was not registered in Coffee County, there were 3 of those. Number 3, there was wrong party, 3 of those. 1 moved within the county, and a requested mail ballot, then voted in person. There's 1 of those. So we have a total of 11. If you turn the page over, you can see that we, the reasons why we are recommending that we accept 5 and reject 6. We can go through each of one of those, or if you want to just go down, but number 1, voter registered or requested advance ballot but voted early in person instead. So the advance mail ballot was not cast or counted. The next one, registered voter to change name. They completed their new voter registration, and so that one would count. One from Ward 3, voter moved within Coffee County and completed a new voter registration. The next one was voted the wrong party, was registered as Libertarian, wanted to vote Republican. Next one was Burlington Township, change name again. Hamden Township, we had 2. One was voter not registered at all, which that doesn't count. The next one voted wrong party, so that doesn't count either. Leroy City, registered voter changed name, that counts. The next one voter was not registered, so of course that doesn't count. Lincoln Township voted the wrong party, they were registered as Democrat, wanted to vote Republican. And then Atomo Township, voter was not registered in Coffee County, they are registered in Lyon County, so that of course does not count. These are all reasons that are listed under statutes, so if you guys would agree with that, we have a motion to accept 5 provisional ballots and reject 6. And then we will add those to the totals, and we'll come back and finish after. And then we can release the board, but you guys will have to come back when they're done with their next appointment. Okay.
Make a motion to accept the original ballots.
I second.
Moved by Tom, Johnson, seconded by, Whitberg.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Sorry.
Thank you, sorry for interrupting.
Fine, I get that.
My turn, name, things like that.
Hand down there.
Wow. Now you're going to recess as a board of canvassers and reconvene as a board of county commissioners.
Motion to recess as Board of Canvassers and resume as Board of Commissioners. Moved by Curry, seconded by Meeks. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes at 11:25.
Okay, and then you can go on your executive session.
Now we can go.
I'll call you back here in a little bit.
Thank you, Angie.
All right.
Thank you, Gwen. I'll learn.
Okay.
Get my brain going back on.
You're all right.
Okay, we're behind Mr. Skipper, but
That's okay.
you're up.
I would request that the commissioners and the county attorney, county council rather, and myself go into a 30-minute executive session to discuss matters of non-elected personnel.
I'll make that motion. Oh, yeah, sorry.
The third leg, performance, evaluation.
Evaluation. Sure.
Moved by McCurry for 30 minutes, probably.
Yes, sir. Is that simple?
Oh, sorry. Moved by McCurry, seconded by Meeks. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll go in at 11:29 for 30 minutes. Okay.
Who moved and seconded?
McCurry moved, Meeks seconded.
Okay.
Entered 11:29.
I guess I voted wrong, so I'll need enough time to read it, right, and come back up here now, right? Or I need to come back up here?
I come back up here now. 11:55.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, one second. Okay.
Okay, we're back. Normally we say no action, but we're gonna have action. Mr. Skipper.
Well, thank you. Commissioners, thank you for the time you've let me work for Coffee County. I've made a lot of friends, and I've established relationships, and I've enjoyed, I've enjoyed each of you in ways that you probably it's hard to describe, but again, I appreciate everything you've done for me. But I've taken a position with SSM, and I've offered my resignation letter to the county clerk with a proposed resignation date of the end of this month. And I'd like to offer my services as much, I will continue to serve at your pleasure in whatever capacity you need me to for the remainder of the year.
Well, I feel that it's important that we keep Bobby in the motion or in the back pocket of the county with the potential chips chatter out there. And we just have to draw up an agreement for a continuous consulting, I guess maybe, is a terminology.
An hourly agreement that will allow there to be continuity between the transition, because Bobby has quite a few contacts and he's the point of contact for everything related to Coffee County right now. So that there's nothing that's lost in that transition as seamless as it can be until whatever happens with that, that's probably the best way to move forward. And he and I can get together and put something together.
And I would like to also probably start advertising to accept applications to fill an economic development role employee. And I think Mr. Skipper would agree that he would help set the new chosen economic development person to a path forward versus here it is, figured out on your own type situation. Because I feel we're in tender moments right now with everything. And I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize our opportunities that we may have out there to grow the county.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm fine. You're go ahead.
I hope our citizens out here in Coffee County realize what Mr. Bobby Skipper has done for the county, and also will continue to help. And my thought is, once we get a new person hired, and hopefully it's not too far down the road, that to me we almost have two people helping Coffee County down the road. And even though we don't want to lose Bobby for what he's done, we got to wish him the very best. And might even be something the best for Coffee County. We know what Bobby can do, and he can continue to work for us a little bit. And with a new person coming on, it might work out for the best for Coffee.
Kind words, thank you.
Good luck to you, Bobby.
Yes, sir. Likewise.
So there needs to be a motion to accept the letter of resignation?
I don't think you want to.
I don't want to. Motion to accept the resignation in 2 weeks from Mr. Skipper from Economic Development, and to work in the capacity of a consultant once the contract agreement is drawn up by hourly, and also to train maybe a new economic development if it's within a timely time period.
Absolutely.
I'll move. I'll second. Moved by Knight, seconded by McCurry. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you all.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
Good luck, Bobby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. We're back to the election stuff, are we?
Yep.
Okay, so we need a motion to resume.
We gotta get Gwen.
Oh, sorry.
You want me to go grab her? Yeah.
That's your rolling chair.
It's much better. My back's straight.
It looks pretty good. Thumb holder. Okay. See, now you don't feel left out.
No, no, I feel like I'm right here, I feel like I'm right here.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
It's no problem.
We're down the hall.
Okay, now we're motion to resume as Board of Canvassers at 12:09. Second? We got a second, and we voted on all that stuff.
Yeah, who is second?
I'll move to resume as Board of Canvassers.
Again.
Second by Gwen.
Okay, did you already? Yeah.
Go ahead, Gwen.
Yeah.
Second by Gwen. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, what I handed you out is the blue sheet that says balance sheet. That's a sheet I create. Then I handed you out an election summary results report, which is a report that comes out of my tabulation computer to show you that things do balance up and match with the poll book. So if you look on the report under total ballots cast about in the middle of the page of the black and white sheet, you can see we had a total of 692 voters. Advance, we had 242, and if you compare that to the top of the blue sheet, you see 242. Advance paper was 69, and so advance paper, that's in-office voting, is 1, and mailed out, received back is 68, so that's 69. Election day voting is 1372, which I don't have. I'd have to go and just add. I should have made if you added up your Kelly Hall, your Gridley, Lebo, Leroy, New Strong, and Waverly, that would equal to 1372. And then election day paper, I do have that on the sheet. Under Kelly Hall, there's 1, and election day paper under Waverly 3, so that's 4. And then we have the 5 provisionals, which, if you look kind of like not quite in the middle of the page, you'll see under Kelly Hall, there's 2, Leroy, there's 2, and New Strong, there's 1, so that's 5, for the total of 1692. So everything did balance out in comparison to the poll pad.
What's the -2 -1 score?
Those were people that voted, they signed in on the poll pad. So we have a poll pad, they signed in. They should not have, and they voted provisional. So we deducted that off of our poll pad number of check-ins because they should not have signed in. But then we still have to count the provisional, so that's why I listed it below. So
they shouldn't have voted.
they should not have voted, they should not have checked in on the poll pad. It should not have, we've instructed the election workers to not let them sign in, but they signed them in and then found out they needed to vote provisional.
So they just zeroed it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. Okay, so as we go through, I'll go through the full book first. We'll start with Kelly Hall, and basically you guys can just verify the number that it matches, and then sign the back page. So we had a total of 276 that voted at Kelly Hall. That is the 275 plus 1, and that is 276 that checked in, and then the 2 provisional.
So we just sign on the back page.
Yes, if you agree with that. And that, the poll books are printed straight out of the poll book software. So it's nothing I can change that.
Shouldn't the 275 plus the 1 election day paper plus the 2 provisionals? Shouldn't it be?
The 2 provisionals do not sign the poll book.
Okay.
They sign a separate sheet.
Gotcha. I'll shut up.
It's okay. No, ask all the questions you want. They're wrong. That's why they wouldn't sign the poll book.
I think 76 separate very long.
We only want the ones that are accurate to sign the poll book. The next one is Grizzly, and they had 191. And as we go throughout the day, we make sure that everyone that voted the machines, the number matches what's on the poll book. That way we know everything's going correct.
Working through the system correctly.
And
You got a
then,
certain amount of time that you, like, 10 o'clock, 1
No.
o'clock, it's just periodically?
I just tell them whenever there's a slow time, go check and make sure
Go check.
everything's matching it. That way if there's something off, we need to know why.
Right.
Because when you guys question me, I need to give you an answer.
Mhm.
Oh, I have one off on Hugo. I'm gonna check that. I'm not sure.
That Levo's got a -1, should it have a +1 with it?
No, should have been a minus. I think I must have forgotten to take a couple of advance off, which I can. Okay. It should be 342 at Levo. And I have 344 here, so I'm thinking I didn't get a couple of the advance taken off or something. I'll have to look at that one. Okay, Leroy, I checked all of these before too, imagine that. Okay, there was 187 at Leroy.
That includes the 2 provisional, or do they need to be added?
No, those would not be in the full book because they would be listed out on a separate sheet.
That one was, did you say you had 2 election days?
And Leroy?
No, and altogether, when did that was this? Why you added the 1?
Oh, wait a second. Because, okay, so that's one, because there would be an extra, because they signed in on the Lebo poll book, and they should not have, but there's still one more. I'll have to look at that one. Okay, and then Neutron, there were 225 that signed, but one needs to come off because they should have voted
Okay.
provisional. So that's why it's right there.
So you have 3 election day down here every,
Yeah.
That was legal, remember?
Yeah. And the next one is Waverly at 156, that signed the poll book. 53 voted in machines and 3 were paper. I'm gonna have Brad come in and go over these other ones with you, and I'm gonna go look at why.
Can I leave over just a second too? I forgot, I probably, my stool.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
All right. Step down here. Take a break for one.
I thought this was only say 224. It says 225. I know she's got the one provisional she had to take off, but if they're not supposed to sign this, sign it. Whole sheet, why is it at 225?
But you had one on paper, provisional.
Which one you want?
This ain't on paper. This is Neutron. This says about provisional.
Right, so one extra checked in that should not have. So there's gonna be one more on their poll book that should not have been there that checked in.
You got a -1 under 225,
Right,
Yeah.
and then you got a 1 underneath that.
right. What's the number?
It's 224 and 225.
Right.
So it shows 225 here.
Right, right. And one should not have been on there. So we leave it here because they checked in, but we're taking it off of the balance sheet because it should not have been included in that total.
Minus 1 off.
Yeah, right. Here's the audit.
Provisional 1 shouldn't even been there.
No, well, it should be there as far as the balance sheet goes, but it should not, they shouldn't have checked in that way. But if they were to go back and review who all checked in, they did check in, that is true, they just should not have. And here's the election, and then take a look at these, and the advanced public. And I'm gonna go check this, see what happened on that one.
Never been here for this part.
Welcome.
The ballot audit is, some of you are familiar, may not remember what that is. Basically, after the election, we do have a board come in, bipartisan board, train them, swear them under oath, and they do a hand count of the ballots from the Secretary of State selects the state or the federal and state race, and then gives us an order to choose from. And I have the order in here somewhere. In the event, yeah, they notified us that we were gonna do U.S. House District 2 Republican and Kansas Senate District 12 Republican, and then they gave us a list of county offices, and we go down the list until we hit one that has a race in it. And what we hit first was Commission District 2, County Commissioner. So those were our three races, was U.S. House, Kansas Senate, and Commission District 2. And we drew random township, and we drew Hampton Township. And we had, our board came in and hand counted those things. And previous years, you were allowed to use the ballot, on those machines, it takes a picture of the ballot card. When you're voting, you're actually voting a paper ballot, but the machine prints it and counts it for you. Then you hear the card clonk down into the bottom when you're done. But it takes a picture of it before they could use that picture, and you could just generate that. Now they have to go in and hunt through each box and find the ballots from that precinct, from that party for those races. And they made pretty short work of it. Our board went through and we compared that back to the election night count. So what came off the machines and what our counting board on election night came up with that we report in to the state on that night and compare back. And in the years I've been here, coincides with when they started doing that. We've only had one time when what we reported was different than what we found on the count, and both it was off by two things, and they were both mail-in paper ballots that people didn't fill out right. It's never been off from the machines, so we feel good about that the machines we have and the way we're using them are reliable, and it's been proven every time we counted them. So anyways, we had, I don't know what she has you sign off on here on the tally sheets. The tally sheets from the board end up being the official results from, did she give you a copy of this stuff, or do you want to pass that around and look at it, or? This is what, okay, this is what we sent in, and that shows what our board counted for each race. And there's a shrunk down version of their tally sheet, so it will fit in the packet. And then the official results that you can compare back to from that night, and then the documents showing that what races and
Steve, Don, you guys didn't sign this?
On the back, so.
Oh, they say on the.
I didn't see.
Sorry, we can shoot that.
You can send it back and we'll sign what we're, Tom.
They probably wouldn't hurt if we
You
signed.
can send it back and we'll sign what we're supposed to.
It might hurt to sign that right.
I just signed on a blank page.
It's on the page everybody else to sign.
Yeah.
It's hard to soar like an eagle when you're surrounded by a bunch of turkeys.
They're only sign off on something saying everybody doesn't, everybody's lost or something.
Yeah.
You're on a roll, buddy.
Yeah. When joined us.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
She was just following.
Yeah. A good kid.
Anyways, then the tally from that audit board becomes the official canvas of those races in that precinct. So you guys don't have to go through and hand count them or whatever.
We don't have to sign
Anyways.
this. No, it's just visual.
I don't know if she wants you to sign it, probably sign it off on that.
We sign those.
Yeah, that's the tally sheet,
Oh, okay.
tally sheets of the judges, there's two of them there.
Where do we sign on this?
Just down at the bottom.
We've already done it before, on both sheets. Well, they just, I would just sign both of them, I think.
While he's looking at that, this is just our advanced poll book, and I assume she'd have you sign off on this on the front.
Yes.
This just shows all the mail ballots that went out, and all of them and what happened with them over in the, it tells you over here in the right hand whether it was accepted. A lot of them are gonna say rejected, spoiled, lost, and that's the only category on the machine, on the computer program, or if they never come back, we show them as spoiled or lost, because all we know is we sent them out and it never came back. Then we did have one that was, one that was not deliverable because the lady moved to Arkansas. And there's some more, I think there were a dozen or so, that just never came back on there. We did have one, they're having a go-around with the Postal Service. We had one that came back the day after, if they're postmarked by Election Day and received by the Friday after Election Day, they still get counted. Well, I received one from a voter who was temporarily down in South Texas, and we received his ballot the day after the election, presumably mailed from South Texas, but it never got hit with a postmark till it got to Burlington. So his vote did not count, because nobody between Houston and Burlington hit it with a postmark. And so it's an issue. I would tell you that our local post office here is bending over backwards for us. They don't bring us one without a postmark, but sometimes, unfortunately, they're the first one that felt that way about it. And it's happened with some of the nearby post offices, where a lot of them, they never get hit with one until it hits Burlington. I don't know what happens with them when they're in Kansas City or wherever they go, but you would think they would run them through something and pop a date on there. But, that's a sad thing, because I know that this person wanted to vote, and they went to all the trouble of asking for the ballot and filling it out and mailing it back on time, probably. I mean, it was signed like 9 days before Election Day, so I'm guessing it had been wandering around out there somewhere, but nobody hit it with a postmark till it got here, so I can't count. So anyways, that's something they've told us, to preserve those ballots separately in case somebody starts suing everybody about that. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that we've met with them down here, and they're fantastic working with us down here in Burlington. But anyways, that's that advanced poll book, and you can see there, our report shows that we had one more ballot sent out than was requested, which is another software thing. What's it show, like 82 requested and 81 requested and 82 sent out. We had, two things that could happen other than just a vote and send it back, or it never comes back, is our one advanced voter, early voter that was in the provisionals. She made a mistake on her ballot, and what they can do is they can request a new ballot, or if it's still beforehand, they can just come to town, bring me their ballot and surrender it, and we void it out, and they just vote on the machine, which was the easiest. But I did have one other voter that they called in, said he made a mistake on the ballot and would like to have another one, so they have to surrender that one unvoted, and then there's a form they fill out saying that they've spoiled that ballot and want a new one. And it allows me on the system to enter in that I've issued the new ballot to him, but it never allows me to say that he asked for it. So it looks like two of the ballots were sent out on one of the requests, so it shows 81 requested and 82 sent out, but I know where it went. No, we only counted one that went to him.
Yes, I'm good now, I can take over here.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Okay,
Thanks, Brad.
so going back
Glad
and
I could spend
looking
this time with you.
to see what potentially happened, it looks like they checked someone in and then they didn't cast a ballot. This is the tape that comes off of the machine for the totals that night, and there were 342. There were no other provisionals other than that one, Lincoln Township, that wouldn't count because it voted the wrong party, which we're deducting it already. So the only answer can be is that they may have went to the machine, didn't cast the ballot, they may have just checked in and left. I don't know. I'd have to contact the poll workers, but that's the only way it could be.
And the chance of them knowing what happened
I could call them and ask, but that's what it, 342, do you see that? Yeah. That's what they printed out that night, on election night. So all we can do is just give you our best scenario of what could happen with that, is that, did you want to see the 342 there? So,
Well, it'd probably be different if it was down to one or two vote
right,
of the race,
yeah.
so.
But there was no other paper ballots, there was nothing else, so that's, the only other answer would be if they might have been up and maybe they thought they cast it, didn't,
And maybe they didn't push the button
Yeah.
and cast it and just walked away.
because there's really nothing else you can do
Mhm.
once you check it. So there's leave that over. Sorry about that, I thought we had all that squared away before today.
Some things are easy to overlook. Check them twice and 3 or 4 times, and then step away and come back. Well, there it is.
The balancing part is kind of a nightmare, because you're trying to figure out what scenario happened out there, what
different
piece
people,
of the puzzle
yeah.
are you missing, and put this back before I lose it. Then I have reports for you to sign. This is the precinct report on election night. That was a 0 report for you to see that it was all zeros. Before we begin counting. The front sheet's what pulls from all the back sheets. So you're welcome to flip through them all or
We just sign on the front page.
yeah, you can sign. And then this is an election summary, 0 report, which is just another style report.
On paper.
I know. And then this one is the election summary report with the totals and the provisional added in. That's a complete report today.
This turnout for Republicans is 40%. It's been that high before.
Well, yeah.
It's been that high in a primary.
Oh, yeah.
Showing the phones.
It's been a lot less than that.
That's why I'm surprised this is at 40.
And then this is the precinct report with, so it's broken out by precincts with those provisionals added to make it a complete report. And you guys, if you want any copies of the reports, you're welcome to those, so.
Looks like I have some of that.
Let me see. I would just do it down here at the
Down at the
bottom,
bottom,
so
okay.
everybody can.
Half a ring of paper.
I know.
I guess we should follow these and then feel that lawyers and stuff.
So how long do you have to keep it?
Forever.
Forever? Wow. So is
Crazy. The report.
40% turnout, is that bad or is that good?
It's good. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Well, if you look on the precinct reports, it was heavier in the ones where we had local races.
Yeah.
and it's pretty sleepy, and something like Waverly didn't have much going on. But, I mean, as far as, what was our total number of votes cast?
And these are our two provisional reports that the county made.
1892,
So they're just-
1692.
Okay.
And that's, I mean, in 2022, it was 3,200.
Oh,
Because
really?
well, you had the governor and you had constitutional amendments and all that stuff. It was a lot busier. 2,400 in 2020. You go back pre-COVID, 2018, it was 1,800. 2016, 1,800. Yeah, so we're kind of back to a normal level there with, and I think that's probably the amendment.
I just saw that.
Yeah,
All day.
that turned people off.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the Democrats had one race at the top of the ballot and nothing else, and nobody knew who we were, and they just didn't come out. I will say that our election workers out in the polls all over the county were fantastic. They're just, especially in the south half of the county, this was their third election this year already. They're getting it down. And we've got a mix of our veterans that have known what they were doing all along, and we've got some good, young, smart people coming in there with them, and it was just a pleasure to run this election this year. And they're good about calling when there's issues, because there's always something. I mean, no matter how well you build the thing, there's so many moving parts that stuff comes up during the day that they're not expecting, but we just had a real good day. We were home, I was home in the recliner with my feet up watching the news at 9 o'clock, watching the results come in, instead of being up here in a panic, sweating at 11:30 at night, having candidates face the hall. And so, that was a good feeling.
They signed that back
You
page.
guys do a good job.
Is the back page you signed?
You want the back page signed too on these? Because back page, you sign the front page.
Oh, it's just two duplicates? Do they-
Yeah, well, no, they each do a sheet. What we've done is, in the old days,
But they don't need to sign both, right?
I think they probably should. I don't know.
Okay, let's sign about.
Anyways, what they used to do.
Being serious.
Well, those like the advance board, they would come in on election night. I know this because my wife worked up here for 20 years. John Liddell would sit where she is, and Darla and somebody would sit across on the other side. John would read the name off the envelope, and they would write it down by hand. And then he'd open it and put it in the box in the envelope over here, and then he'd pick up the next one and read it.
Yeah.
Well, I've discovered that I can go in and generate a report that has the name already written, and I can put them in alphabetical order and put the envelopes in alphabetical order. And so the judge can pick up the envelope and say the name, and they can confirm that it's the name and check it, confirm the ballot style, circle it, open it, throw it in the box, and they really went through that.
We have to run two for each person, each judge. That's why.
And Tom probably should sign those pages, so that's.
So, thanks. Well, but the reason you have two is they're, the one reading them off is sitting here, and those two are both doing their own, and then they check them back against each other to make sure it's all correct. And then we use the machine to count the ballots. If it won't go through the machine, then they do a hand count at that time.
There's a lot of people involved. Oh, thank you.
And we're paying them all less than if they worked at McDonald's. Don't tell them.
You do a great job.
You do a great
But
job.
that's not why they're there.
No, it is that.
And it's a long, long, long day for them.
Long day for all of you.
Yeah.
It is.
We just have people yelling at us on the phone.
people.
All of them.
We're getting ready to lose a couple of them though, come maybe next year or so. We're ready to hang it up.
Probably after the general.
Yeah.
They've been so good down there for so long, that, I mean, they just got it down, and I'll tell you what, though, they've trained up their next generation to take over, where she is smart on top of it, and we're gonna be in good shape down there. And we've just got people, I mean, just everywhere, in Lebo there, you got Kathy Autry running that poll, and she is smart, she's good at it. and
That's
Tricia
okay.
off.
That's a true.
And then help her Mark right now.
Okay, is that in the
They
election?
run a tight ship.
Yeah, we'll need to go ahead and.
No.
Yeah, I'll go ahead again. Anyways,
Yeah,
if you run
that's
across
okay.
any of those
That's okay.
people working out there, let them know how much you appreciate it, because they're my greatest
When I get thrown off here now.
Yeah.
When they get to run.
Well, we gotta,
When am I, we can get thrown off?
yeah, we gotta certify the results first.
Motion to certify the results of canvas board.
Second.
I'll move. Moved by McCurry, seconded by Johnson. That's a motion. Any discussion? This guy, okay, let's get him out of
Let's
here.
get these men out of here before I ruin this place.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. He's getting angry. Oh, no, he's good.
That's exactly correct, I'm 45 minutes late. My blood sugar's probably about 12 right now.
Motion to,
Good job.
motion to
Yeah.
adjourn as canvas board at 12:43 PM and reconvene as Board of County Commissioners. Moved by Meeks, seconded by McCurry. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Glenn.
guys.
Thank you, Johnson.
You bet.
Thanks, Lee.
Sure.
Thanks, Tom.
Sorry.
All I can say is, Glenn and I made this look good, didn't we?
Take care. You guys did good.
That's when these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I better grab my radio before Jesse ends up taking
I don't need that thing. Need any more noise makers?
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. More than happy to help. Or hand or whatever I get.
Okay. Okay. I think that concludes our normal business day. Now I believe we're at roundtable. Mr. Bowie?
So maybe for a little more clarification, Mr. Truelove was here and brought up the zoning issue and the conversation about solar, and then wanted clarification regarding what happened at this level once, whatever happened at the zoning level, so once it makes it to this level. And it just happens that we have in front of us from the minimum maintenance roads discussion, what those options are, and those options are the same, whether it's minimum maintenance roads, whether it's what comes from zoning. So on the very back, your decisions are, you can approve, you can override and disapprove, and that requires a 2/3 majority vote. You can return to the planning board, you can revise, that requires a 2/3 majority vote. And then you have to describe the required revision, or the desired revision. Going back to the planning board, I skipped that, you need to include a statement that goes back to the planning board why you're wanting to send it back, or you can table it. So those are what those options are once it gets to this level. And that way, what was stated last week or the week before was somewhat confusing, so try not to confuse it. Those are what the decisions are.
But did we not return to the planning board?
Yes, this got returned to the planning board. I'm just using these
Oh,
as
okay,
what the
okay.
options are.
I'm sorry.
The conversation was about
Yeah.
zoning and if it makes it, or when it makes it.
And what happens?
This board, what are the options for this board?
Okay.
And those are what the options are for any zoning issue that the zoning board makes their final decision that comes here, then those are what your options are.
So which reflects back on the moratorium that we put against the any solar project coming into the county when it expires in, would you say September 5th?
September 5th.
Something like that, so.
So it was worded in a way where it said for a year, so a year would be September 5th, or until the zoning decision had been made, then it would basically fall off. So you are running up against a timeline, and my impression of what Mr. Truelove was getting at was to not to rush the decision.
Right, right.
So, and it is entirely appropriate to extend the moratorium if you feel the need to do so. But you would, obviously, you want to have as many people here as possible. I think Commissioner Thompson would abstain because he abstained the first go round. So the only then question would be, you get in and he's not available right now. So I think you do need to be thinking about if that's something you might want to.
You say that's when it expires.
It's rolling right down the tracks. I know several counties surrounding Coffee County. They have, I know one, I don't know what their final decision was, but I know they were making a recommendation to, I guess their attorney was making a recommendation to extend their moratorium for a period of time. It was going to be potentially several years to allow the opportunity to see what's going on in other counties. At the time, a year ago, I don't think not doing anything was an option because you have to put some rules and structure in place, and you don't know exactly what that timeline is going to be. But from what was mentioned this morning by the Evergy representative, mentioned a regional impact study with an emphasis on the impact on the area market. I don't know if those documents exist or not, but I guess it's not to you yet. You just need to be thinking about the moratorium. And if, for example, zoning makes a decision and they send it your way on Wednesday, that gives you 2 weeks. And that's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, I think there still needs to be some discovery. I think this really helped this morning with Evergy and Brook Creek both here to enlighten us on their thoughts. The whole thing is we don't want to do anything that would hurt Brook Creek. Another question is solar is highly subsidized, so what happens if there's a change within the government? I mean, is that still something that's going to go on? I mean, I know that won't be answered until the election, but I would assume that the subsidies would go on, but to me that is a concern. And maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it's the law that's going to go on now.
Well, I think you heard the discussion from Evergy that they're going to be doing it as well, and why would they be making preparations if they don't think the subsidies are going to continue?
No, they are.
You know.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's my only read between the lines type scenario.
But even though they said they were looking at it, are they looking at it 4 to 5 years to get the information from the state or from the federal government to install
I think like
solar or air or wind or whatever it may be?
Like Evergy, I think they've already got a project in Douglas County.
I think I think Douglas County kicked that out, didn't they?
I think part of Douglas County, I'm probably wrong, but I think Douglas County's got a project up there that Evergy either bought into or, and I better not, I may be completely wrong.
They got one right east of Weldon, and I've been by that 2 or 3 times.
Is that just going in now?
Yeah, it's under construction, as I understand it. And how big it is, I don't know. But, Brandon told me that when I was talking to him.
Well, the things that we do today, or tomorrow, or Wednesday, or Thursday, is gonna have the impact on our friendly neighbor Evergy, what they do in the future, as well, in Coffee County also, so. Do you have anything else, David?
You also had me, last week, you mentioned an agreement between the county and SSM for that property. I put something together based on prior conversations that we had when there was a proposed agreement in place, and just modified that same one. The only thing that I didn't do, and this is probably important, is it has a section in it that addresses an option of purchase with the right of first refusal, as you mentioned. We don't have a purchase price, so within that section, I put the assessed value or the market value of the property and improvements, what that is at or near the time of purchase, whichever is greater. And that allows it to be open, and then probably someone to come up with, determine that amount, because we don't know what that amount is going to be. So something had to be put in there. The other thing is, with the option of purchase, I didn't include language that you didn't direct me to, but language that encompasses, with the chip side of things, if that property is potentially going to be a resource for a daycare or a fire station or something that can be repurposed, then obviously the chip side would purchase that property, and it wouldn't be sold to SSM or any other purchaser. And I didn't know if you want that incorporated into that agreement or not, because that's a different twist on what we have. But I have something put together for consideration, but I think that's a wrinkle that wasn't necessarily discussed.
Well, I don't know that the board ever moved on the repurposing it for the CHIPS application to save a bunch of money on new construction. I mean, it was just an option that I threw out there, and I think we'll go I think it's fair to say we'll go anywhere that nets us the most money on it. I mean, that's my 2 cents worth. I mean, if the CHIPS, by the time SSM wants it, if the CHIPS hadn't done anything, then sell it. I think we'll leave our options open.
Okay. Well, I was thinking that, but I just wanted to make sure before I put it in, if that's what additional paragraph needs to be put in there, that basically says that if the CHIPS Act comes through and the properties can be repurposed, because it will put some financial responsibility on part of the county for the creation of a PBC to fund that. And on the backside of the money that would go with that, there is a benefit to the county if that property can be repurposed. As far as I'll probably go into that, if that makes sense.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So,
I think they're ready to jump as soon as they can get something signed and documented and in hand back to us. They're ready to start moving stuff in.
I realize that this is just a lease, but does, with the option to buy, that lake, how does that lake, I mean, how does that play into it? We've been talking about putting the lake with the property, so does that need to be?
If it was to be sold separately, to SSN or whatever, whoever,
That lake be,
that lake be included in the sale of the property.
in the selling property, does that?
If it was gonna be repurposed to the TMC deal, then the lake goes with the property and the house and everything anyway.
Whoever's purchasing that, if the lake's included, they probably want that resurveyed.
Oh,
So
you'd
that
have
they-
to.
So that, well, up front, so they know exactly what they got.
Yeah, you'd have to. I just don't wanna go through the expense of resurveying it and redoing it if it's not gonna happen.
Right.
We'll cross that bridge. I mean, I think cross the bridge when it gets there, sure.
Well, and if you include the lake, depending on which direction, if it ends up going back for residential, then it has to also be rezoned. If it's rezoned as industrial outside of that
Right.
sliver where the land currently sits.
The house, the building, everything is rezoned as.
The house and the
Residential.
land is residential.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The other rest of it, going west towards the lake and
Right.
to the gravel roads, all industrial.
Industrial, so that would have to be rezoned. But we as the county as landowners could do, I mean, that would come
It has to go through.
Through zoning.
So just some additional wrinkles to throw in there.
Okay.
I have a resolution based on the disaster, but I'll just wait for that next week. If that'll take probably more time than what we want to deal with right now. I do need to ask for a 15-minute executive session myself and what's left of the board for attorney-client, and that's in reference to a legal issue that could result in litigation. I guess potential litigation.
You said 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
15-minute executive session, county attorney, the board, legal counsel, I guess.
It's under attorney-client and to discuss, provide legal advice involving potential litigation.
What he said, I'll move. I'll second. Moved by Knight, seconded by Meeks, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We'll enter at 1:02 for 15 minutes. Mark, you hung around waiting on us.
I did.
We're just waiting for more fireworks.
Well, we don't have much more. There's probably not much gas left in this tank.
I'm about gassed out.
That's fine.
Okay, we're back. No action taken on the last executive session. Got anything else, Wade?
That's plenty for today.
Plenty for today.
Agreed.
I can't argue with that statement. Steve, Dawn, do you have any roundtable?
Well, see, this Burns deal just came. Not sure what it is Burns McCall. They're having a reception up in Kansas City. We got an email on here last week. I didn't want anybody was, I called ways to go, but I didn't want anybody to journey up there.
I've already declined.
I haven't declined, but I'll, no, I don't have anything else.
Well, this kind of falls into, would you wanna carry off into these kind of things,
weed?
Wade? The weed?
I don't know what it is.
Well, it's an invite to, basically a big barbecue,
That's why I defined.
come up and we'll snooze you, feed you.
Yeah. That's what it is, just, entertainment.
So I think if you get something that is too, it's provided to everybody, then it's one thing, but if it's an individual, then that's another. And I don't know who all receives these, but could it be viewed as, this is a little different than, if, I recall last fall I got an invitation to go to a Chiefs game and sit in a suite or a box or something like that, and as much as I would have liked to do that, that is something that's not offered to everybody else, and I don't know what the value on a package like that would be, but it would be something that I think is in violation of county policy. This one, I've told Burns and McDonald does events from time to time, and they invite everybody in the neighborhood, and they come and they do something that's open to everybody. If it's open to everybody, and I don't think there's necessarily an issue. The main issue would be, and this goes back to, I think, comments that former Commissioner Bob Tressig would say, you all ride up to a conference together, the perception is you're all going to be talking about county business the entire time. So if you go to an event and you're all there, are you sitting there talking about county business? Now, those are things that I think, in my opinion, we know that's not going to occur, but indirectly, would you be talking about county business? I don't know. And let's say, Don, for example, you go, and then you come back, and one of the people at that event or some other similar event talks to you, and then you're talking on the way back to Steve. Well, you only need one more person, and now you've got a majority of the quorum, and you're talking about county business, and you're potentially violating the Open Meetings Act. So it's sort of a delicate situation. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's great. If you want to go,
I just know what the perception would be, and I just responded back that I wouldn't attend. I mean, that's where I am, but that's.
I'm not gonna attend, I don't have an interest going up there.
Yeah.
And probably the 5 commissioners are the only ones that got it, but it's been on my email for 2 weeks, probably.
Yeah, or longer.
Maybe even 3.
Or longer, yeah.
Anything else, Dawn?
No.
Angie?
I do, I don't know, real quick. I got the project exemption certificate from the state of Kansas for the health department remodel, so that's taken care of and they're ready to go. The Lebo is going to be dedicating, I think it's a playset at the Lebo Park, to the commissioners and to a foundation and some other people, so they're going to be sending you an invitation for that, so when that comes through, you'll understand what that is. They're using part of the Park and Rec Fund for that, for little kids, so. And I think your name, or they're going to list Board of Coffee County Commissioners or something on the plaque with the other donations. And then the last thing is that we have the appointed boards, people, today, Friday was the deadline. So I know you had said at one point that you wanted to wait until you had a full board, but I wanted to bring them before you today in case, since the deadline was Friday, if you wanted to do anything, or if you're going to wait till next week, or.
Well, you'll be here next week. And
Okay.
that's, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, I think.
And, okay, and then, do you want me to find something, or is Wade gonna find something to put in the paper for economic development or address it next week? I don't know. I was looking to see if I had.
Oh, you need for an application.
Announcement. Job announcement.
Job announcement, yeah.
I guess, with that being said.
Or have it
want
ready
to
for
be,
next week.
Open until filled? And then how many times do you want it printed? Every week until it's filled? And then in the paper and online, and I think in the past, if you've been using LinkedIn or whatever the.
Indeed is where normally we.
Yeah, so just to advertise in all of the locations where you might cast a wide net.
Are you gonna put it together, or you want me to?
There should be one from.
There should be one somewhere. I was looking.
And I may have seen it, so.
Okay, so we'll look for it.
We'll look for it, whoever finds it first.
Scavenger hunt.
Get with each other, and then go ahead and get it published.
You wanna go ahead and?
I'll go ahead and.
Just modify it to say open until filled.
Until filled, yeah.
Okay.
Probably want to keep it open. Just open until filled.
And maybe you have a date included that says first rounds of applications will be reviewed.
September, end of September.
So that would be when?
30th. Hey, Wade's back. Hey, Wade's back.
September 27th?
Yeah, 27th.
Okay.
I'm doing all right.
Okay.
Yeah, first round's application, September 27th.
You know, that's 6 weeks, is that a little bit long?
What?
I would think if anybody's gonna respond to it, they wouldn't wait six weeks, but.
For advertising for Bobby's position.
Economic development.
Probably need some time, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see,
that 6 weeks is maybe too long, I mean,
Yeah, you're looking for somebody that's in a specific place, so might take a little bit.
it may take a little,
Would be my thought.
He came from out of state, so
you know.
it may take that long to get everything, someone to see it,
He's a Bama.
for it good, to make it wherever it needs to go.
Right.
Okay.
with everything that's going on in the county, it may entice and it may.
Make people run and hide.
I don't think we're too bad a prospect.
No, I didn't mean, I agree.
I know.
I would save those pieces of the minimum maintenance roads. Yes. Ryan might want to come back and pull those again for the Wednesday meeting, for zoning.
It'll probably just stack them up here.
I'd just stack them up.
One last, well, I do have one other thing. So, it would have been the week of the election, I guess. Election week, we had an issue with our third-party administrator and our health insurance. They just shut down.
Right.
Yeah. So, as of this last Friday, they have one, we're getting set up already. We should be taken off and going. They said we shouldn't see any disruption. They were gonna hold the claims and then, until they got the third-party administrator and then start going again. So, I let everybody know. I wanted everyone to be aware with their information they sent. And so, I think we're okay. We're going just fine now. So, it's unfortunate that happened because we had an issue with the previous third-party administrator. So, but this one, they just shut completely down. So, did you want to talk about that on the base back or wait till next week still?
We're gonna wait till next week on the appointed boards.
Okay.
We're gonna wait for the appointed board selection next week. You good with that, Thompson?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
We're gonna wait till you is back, but you're back, so.
Okay.
At the end of round table or towards, we've got paperwork to sign here too.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's anything that's pressing, I don't think. Anything else?
That's it.
Do you have any roundtables, sir?
I do not have, I guess, kind of lame duck right now. I haven't had a chance to watch the video yet.
Oh.
That's right, tonight.
Well, you can bore yourself for the evening, I guess. The only roundtable I have is, I don't remember what day it was, last Tuesday, Wednesday. I went to the north property to mow, went around the end of the walkout basement area, and I looked over at the swimming pool, and there was about that much water on top of the cover of the swimming pool. Pump wasn't working. So I went to make sure it was plugged in. It was plugged in. Switch plug-ins, no plug-ins. So anyway, it was getting hot, really hot. So I went ahead and finished mowing, and then I contacted Angie in the afternoon sometime. I don't remember when it was, and she got a hold of, help me out, electrician guy.
Yeah, well, we tweet electric, but it was
Creighton Cox. And Creighton, she gave him my number, and he contacted me, and I said, Creighton, I said, I don't have any power here on the west side of this wall. And I even brought extension cord over and threw my sump pump in. I was gonna come off the pool pump plug-in. Well, that didn't work either. So he was 2 miles away, so he just drove over, and it was a GFI switch blew. I had power on the inside, so there's plug-ins on the inside of the house right behind the ones on the outside.
Yeah.
Well, heck, if these are out, you would think the ones on the inside are out too. But miraculously, they weren't out. So I plugged it in, started pumping water, and he got there, and they fixed that. And I paid for the $100. I think it gave him $100 for the call out and changing out the switch. So that's all taken care of. So I was getting dumbfounded when I went to the breaker box. There wasn't any breakers from.
Yeah. Where's the disconnect here somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So, but all that was taken care of, and I went back and checked, and all the water did come off the pool, so.
Glad that happened on your watch and not mine.
It was hot out there that day. It was hot.
I check that every time I went.
3 hours of mowing and then working out there on the concrete, sun beat down on you. But
Should have jumped in the pool.
I can't get in that swimming pool. I'll get accused of having pool parties, so. But, I did clean the cleaner out. I pulled it out while I was waiting on Craig to get there, so. Got it cleaned out, so. I just gave him $100, he said that's good enough, and he went on his way and I went on mine. Went and found an air conditioner. So, other than that, I don't think I have anything else for roundtable. I don't think, the conversation last week about EMP Shield and the credit that would be owed to the county from some EMP devices that wasn't installed in county property throughout the county. With other conversation, with the jail coming in, we might ought to wait and reassess the situation later on, because I'm sure we're gonna wanna equip that
Yes, sir.
with them devices as well. to
See what's needed there.
See what's needed there, so
Very
there
good.
might be a credit, there might not be.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Probably a good idea in May, consider if there's a way to get a quote ahead of time, just so the county has an idea of what that cost will be.
Right. And it might be better to install the stuff now during construction versus after construction. So,
Be something to consult them about,
Yeah.
builders.
I don't know that they're gonna do the installation, we might have to have somebody hired to install them. I think the installation of the ones throughout the county was a little more than what they bargained for.
Yeah, I think they had, 2 or 3 installing at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just understandable.
Some of that's gotta be pretty tough to make it fit when you're
Yeah.
doing it
Yeah.
afterwards, I would think.
I just wanted y'all to be aware of that coming down the pipeline. That is my only reason for I think of things that, I say it before I forget it, so.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to do, is remind us we needed to deal with it
Last
sometime.
week, so,
Yeah,
because I might not be here, who knows, when it comes up, so.
yep.
That's all I got, roundtable wise. Anybody else got anything to speak? Now, forever hold your peace. We'll continue with our signing of checks and vouchers. Special issue stuff.
So you probably want to have that one too.
This is one of my voters.
That sun popped out, we were at the cemetery, and the environment changed really quick. And they're in behind some trees.
Yeah. The sweat started rolling.
Yeah, my irrigation system kicked in immediately.
The sprinkler system worked
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
Is that where the cemetery?
Over at Alfield,
Oh,
St. John,
Alfield.
yeah.
Mountain Brown folder on this one. I'll let you know.
Thank you. Do I sign the little here too, Amy?
No, we've always,
That's what I was saying, you sign. I very seldom see a second page.
yes.
This is just, nothing on
That one.
Okay.
Get a little folder now.
Oh, we have to fix the number two. Oh, there is another. I need a motion to,
Okay.
just now, it's like, I put it on your Canva.
You got it on there?
Yeah.
I guess we got one last motion, a late motion. As soon as I get to it. Motion to authorize the county clerk to publish notice for auctioneer services for the county auction to be held on Saturday, October 19th, 2024. I'll move.
I'll second that.
Moved by McCurry, seconded by Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
I'll get that to you.
Well, this, here says, that says back here. Lost my orders.
Wade, how's your intern doing?
He's done.
He's done, she's done,
They're both done.
they're both done?
Have to go back to school.
Did they do well for you?
They both have, promising careers ahead of them.
Good.
They've got some solid work ethic and interest, in the law, but I think that's what you need.
Well, their time spent with you, I'm sure, gave them a little taste of what lies ahead, so that's great.
Yeah, they were both good young people.
They got exposed to probably more than what you would in other situations, and they both got to sit through a full jury trial, which I think is a invaluable tool. Ryan, the one who's actually had his temporary license practice, he actually got to handle some witnesses, and actually I assigned him some cases to actually handle live in the courtroom, and I think that's the best way to do it.
Where's he going to school?
He's at Washburn.
Or what? Yeah.
Well, they sure have a nice new, I don't know what you call it, attorney or lawyer building out there.
Law school.
Go by it occasionally. I haven't been in it,
I've not been in it either.
but it's pretty fancy on the outside.
Yes. It is up to date and it's definitely a nice recruiting tool for the school.
You guys don't have to sit around here and wait on me to sign these checks. Nobody has anything else? We can adjourn at 11:41.
141.
1:41. I'm wore out. 1:41 PM adjourn.
Oh, okay.
They don't have to sit around and wait on me to sign checks.